Orange Lounge Radio. With your hosts,
Dark Sakura, Sky, and Loki.
The holiday season is officially here, so prepare your wallets for sales and discounts aplenty, assuming what you want will actually be in stock. Enjoy the splendor of the season and join us for the next few hours of news, your comments, and more right here on the show where every gamer has a voice.
Orange Lounge Radio.
Hello, my friends out there on the internet, and welcome back to another week of the show where every gamer has a voice. It is Orange Lounge Radio for this November the 30th of 2014 with the 577th episode of our show. I hope those of you in the States had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us either the Sunday after if you happen to be here live or the week after if you happen to be listening to us in the car, on your commute, at your desk at work, or however it is that you consume Orange Lounge Radio each week. Thank you guys so much for listening. We will be talking about video games, gaming culture, the gamer lifestyle, probably food and random tangents as well over the next few hours. My name is Rob Roberts here in studio, also known as Sky, where you can find me on Twitter, SKIE. Joining me, as always, say hello to the one and only Dark Sakura, or Jamie Summers.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Yeah? Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
It was very chill. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Because
that's
it
good.
didn't involve going to anybody's house.
Yeah.
Or family drama. Or drama at all.
Right.
It involved me, Dan, the cat, and turkey sandwiches.
No, I hear you. You know what? Thanksgiving was just me, Alan, and my parents, and that is totally cool because no more family dramas. And we go out to a restaurant now. We don't even cook or any of that. My parents are too old to cook, and I'm not going to subject anybody to my cooking. It was great.
We just got a little turkey roast and
Yeah.
roasted it, chopped it up, put it on some bread, threw on some cranberry sauce,
Yum.
called it good.
See, I told you it would be about food tonight, but I mean, it's Thanksgiving. It's like we have a holiday to worship food in the state. I guess there's other stuff, history, blah, but it's food.
Let's celebrate giving an entire indigenous population diseases
Right?
with turkey.
Anyway.
No, but also yesterday was Dan's birthday. Mm-hmm. So I got a Boston cream pie because he said don't get me a cake. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to get pie, so I got the true essence of cake pie. Boston cream pie.
Well, there you go. Well, happy birthday, Dan, even though he doesn't listen to this show. But I know that's why you were out last week, because the family had thrown him a party or something, right?
We went to Chicago Fire
Yum.
and ate pizza,
Yum.
and it was amazing.
Pizza is amazing.
You know what? Stuffed crust pizza,
Uh-huh.
pretty damn good.
Pretty damn good. Also pretty damn good. Also eating pizza on tonight's program. Say hello to Techmaster Loki.
Yeah, I'm not eating Chicago Fire pizza.
I know, nothing that fancy here at OLR.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Fancy? I meant, if you meant by fancy terrible, then yes, that would be an accurate description of Chicago Fire's pizza.
Now, I realize we are a worldwide show. We are fortunate to have listeners in countries all over the world and all across America. So not everybody may be familiar with this chain Roundtable, but I consider them to be on the higher end of pizza chains.
They're also the
here.
higher end of
Prices.
Yeah, prices.
But I kind of think you get what you pay for with them. Like, the pizza's pretty good. Like, it's way better than, like, freaking Papa John's or something. Sorry.
The stuffed crust pizza is actually pretty good. The garlicky, chickeny one.
Well, Chicago Fire is like a restaurant pizza. That's even a step above. That's where, you got to get
I
booze
don't
to
like
get
their
weighted on.
pizzas. I really don't. I hate their pizzas. I've had several different types of their pizzas, and everyone like swears by them, and I can't understand. Now, on the other hand, though, their garlic fries are fucking awesome.
That's right.
So their garlic fries, props to them. That who would have thought that a pizza place had bitchin' garlic fries?
The pesto strips were pretty good too.
I love how it's the Thanksgiving episode of Orange Lounge Radio, or the post-Thanksgiving episode, I suppose, of Orange Lounge Radio, and here we are talking about pizza. Pizza. I think I already know the answer to this, but I will.
America.
I think I know the answer to this here in studio, but I'll pose the question anyway, and I'll ask it to you guys in our chat room as well, because we do tape live every Sunday night at 6 o'clock Pacific and 9 o'clock Eastern at the Voice of Geeks Network, vognetwork.com, and you can participate with our show by heading over to live.vognetwork.com, and you can join the chat room, and we read comments on the air and take your questions and so forth as the show is going on. We usually tape right after the Bobby Blackwell show, however, he had the night off, partially due to the holiday, partially due to football. So Bobby was off tonight, but he'll be back next week. So asking you guys, did you do anything for Black Friday?
I went to work.
Did you? You had to work on Black Friday? Well, I guess a lot of people do. Yeah.
I normally work on Fridays, so
Yeah.
I had to work.
Yeah.
I
I guess I'm thankful for my office job where I don't
I also refused to spend money on that day altogether, so I spent nothing.
Good for you.
So it's been 5 years in a row where I haven't spent anything on that Friday. I didn't even get gas. I got free air.
I'm trying to think if we bought anything on Black Friday at all. I did not go out. I will not fight crowds. But I will go to like Target at 8 o'clock at night because it's just like a normal day. After all the crazies have hit it up in the morning, then at like 8 o'clock at night, like if I need to get like bread and eggs, it's just a normal day. You know what I mean? Or whatever I get at Target. We didn't go this time. We usually go at night, but this year we managed to stay home. Loki, how about you? Did you get caught up in any of that madness?
No, I looked at stuff. Window shopping, I guess. But no, there's nothing really I need. I mean, I don't need an Android tablet for $20 or whatever it is. I mean, I guess I could get one for my son to trash, but and maybe one for my other son to gnaw on. But other than that, I didn't really need anything.
Well, taking it to video games, which is in theory what this show is about. There's a lot of game sites having sales, like Blizzard was selling World of Warcraft for like $5, and the Diablo games for $20 a pop. The Root and the expansion. What else was out there? Steam having a big sale, which was to be expected, I'm sure. Even I was looking at only $10 for Gauntlet.
There's supposed to be a big Square sale with a lot of the Final Fantasy titles.
There is. I think we have a story on that coming up a little later. So yeah, but that is the thing as well, where if you want to get Final Fantasy 14's another big MMO, I think it was like $15, or you could go back and get like Tomb Raider for dirt cheap or what have you. So were you able to resist all the online temptations as well?
I only bought one game, and as the Steam sale rules, you never buy anything unless it's at least like 75% off or something like that, or I don't remember what the number is, but I waited until something was. I bought Civ 5 just because everybody's been recommending it, and I know a few people play it, so I just figured, okay, I'll get that. But honestly, I was looking at the Steam sale stuff, and even kind of went through my wish list and stuff, and I scrolling down the page now because I don't really like how they did all the recommendations now because it's a lot of stuff repeats on there, but.
Yeah, I kind of don't like the new Steam layout compared to the old one. I get what they're trying to do with the personalization. I don't like it.
But, seriously, they can be like, here's Fez, and here's Fez 2 spots down, and here's Fez again in this side. And it's like, okay, one, it already says it's in my library, so I don't need to really see that. But that was the thing. It's like all these games on sale, a lot of them were in my library already. And so I'm like, I don't really need to buy these. And then also the other games, like some of the newer games that just come out, my laptop probably can't run those very well. So if I'm looking to buy any like new games like say Dragon Age or I don't know, even what the hell is that Namco game? I don't know. One of the other ones. But if I'm going to buy any of those, I'm going to buy them on console where I know they're at least going to run okay. So I'm not really going to try to get I know they had really insane discounts on like the Shadow of Mordor game.
I was just going to say, I was almost tempted with the Shadows of Mordor, but it's like, I've got enough stinking games to play right now. We'll talk about our gaming weeks in a minute, but it's like, I got enough right now.
I got Civ 5, and then the only other thing I bought, because it was just a decent price, is I beat the average on the Sega Humble Bundle.
Oh, yeah, I got that,
So that was like $350 for a ton of fucking games, including, like, the Dreamcast collection and fucking Knights and shit like that.
I somehow did not have Space Channel 5 on PC, so when I saw that was in that Humble Bundle, I was like, gotta get that.
So yeah,
sure.
I mean that's really the only thing. And I don't know about you, Rob. You might want to look. They was a weekly one now. Is Pinball FX2 tables?
I heard that. Yeah.
So I mean, I was like, I don't really play pinball, but I'm like, maybe. But I didn't. So that's all I bought. I did hover several times over purchasing Dragon Age Inquisition, but it's still full price, and I just didn't want to do it. And also Diablo 3, but on PlayStation 4 digitally, but I just didn't do it because I already have 2 games on disc that I haven't played yet. I still have another one that I'm only partway through, and I have a few other digital games I just bought that I don't need to buy any more games. It's going to end up being like the Steam library in my PlayStation Network.
Yeah, that's where things are going now. I was gonna say, wait till Christmas though, and the post winter holidays, it'll get even cheaper. I bet with all the unsold inventory that's still left.
Plus, there's like fucking games that like I've backed on Kickstarter that I completely forget have not come out yet that I get keys for and stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just not buying a ton of stuff right now.
Let's look at chat over at live.vognetwork.com. Ragenator says, Sky, dude, there's no such thing as enough games. I suppose that's a good point there. Let's see. Ragenator also saying, I went balls to the wall in the Steam sale. I spent a record $90. Yikes. Tiger Claw saying, I didn't buy anything on Black Friday, but I did buy today Smash Brothers Wii U and a Fox McCloud amiibo. He put an extra O on it and says amiibo. But yeah, one of those amiibos. So he has a lot of people jumping on that, especially with Nintendo's kind of big comeback or whatever you want to call it. Let's see. SG100 Matt saying, my dad went out for Black Friday for a toaster. No one was at his local mall, surprisingly. I'm really surprised because it seems like every time I log into YouTube after Black Friday, it's like people dragging each other through the parking lot at Walmart for a $5 crock pot.
I almost wanted to buy a toaster this weekend because our toaster, one side of it's really derpy, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
What's the big fucking deal with toasters this Black Friday?
Well, I meant to buy one. It's not necessarily because it was Black Friday, but I just wanted to get a toaster because I don't know.
Brad, our buddy from Pod Culture in chat, saying, figures that 2 weeks after I buy an Xbox One, Best Buy has it $20 less and a discount on a second controller. Managed to get them to price match, but it was a hassle. I was really close to getting an Xbox One. Really, when I saw that it was now like another $20 cheaper for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and all that. Oh my gosh, I really had to resist. It's not that, like, and I just want to be clear. I want to get an Xbox. I want to support Microsoft's platform and get some of the exclusive games. It's purely a financial thing. You're still talking about dropping $300+.
And also I'm looking at the exclusive games right now. Forza Horizon 2, I haven't played it yet, and honestly, I haven't missed it. And to be honest, I haven't missed Drive Club either. And
luckily there's so much else out right now to divert my attention. I'm not missing
like when Crackdown comes out, that's gonna be pretty tough. Same with like the Wii U when Zelda comes out, that's gonna be kind of tough to not justify purchasing that system. I mean, it's like, God, I really want to play that, but right now I'm hoping. We have a contest at my work right now where they're giving away an Xbox One as one of the prizes. I'm like, that'd be kind of cool if I win that. Probably not going to, but it'd be kind of cool.
That's like people are like, I have so much debt, but I bought a lottery ticket.
Unfortunately, it's the Assassin's Creed bundle, which I fucking hate Assassin's Creed. So
you're being like one of those people that's like, I'm so in debt right now, but I bought a lottery ticket. Here's hoping.
But see, I'm not spending any money. It's a free contest, so
All right.
No risk.
Now, before I get into our official kickoff topic tonight, SJ100 Matt is clarifying the toaster situation. SJ100 Matt in chat says, his toaster was borked and couldn't toast bagels properly. This is a serious problem in a Jewish household.
That's why you get a toaster oven.
I know, we have a toaster oven. I'm like, we're not a Jewish household per se. We just really fucking love bagels. So we have a toaster oven. So just saying.
Or you get one of those, like, they have seriously the fancy one at work where it's the one, like they have almost like the bagel shop where you put it in one side and it rolls across the little oven. And
well, look at you, Mr. I was laid off and now I got this new job and they have fancy toaster ovens.
They have a fancy cafe. They have fancy cafes there that I buy my fancy Red Bulls.
Fancy.
During the day.
Fancy.
We have a fancy cafe too at Locat.
Not where I'm at. We have a cafe, but I wouldn't call it fancy. Anyway, enough talk about that.
Wood-fired pizza, Rob.
Let's get. I wish we have. I can get like a chicken strip basket. Is that a delicacy? I don't know.
I'm going to take you guys to my work one day and just feed you.
All right. Moving on, let's get into tonight's kickoff topic. And this is an interesting article that was making the rounds on the blogs this week. And it originally comes from the site mcvuk.com. And they ran a story about the co-founder of the Games Workshop and the government's Creative Industries Champion. This is Ian Livingstone, and some comments that he made this week at the first BFI Video Games Day in London. And this was the interesting quote he said. And because you just bought Civilization 5, Loki, see if you catch the reference here. Quote, now is the second golden age of games. As you know, when your civilization enters the golden age, you get increased production. Oh, forget it. All right. Now is the second golden age of games. Anybody can make a game in their own creative, cultural way in a less formulaic way than some console games in order to find new audiences. And he went on to talk about games like World of Warcraft, League of Legends, Minecraft, even Candy Crush Saga, Clash of Clans, which is a big one on the iOS and I believe Android, talking about games that have broadened gaming's audience and brought more people into gaming, especially when you talk about something like Candy Crush Saga. I would even add games like Words with Friends and Farmville to that list, bringing in a demographic that wasn't always a quote-unquote gamer. He did say that there is still work to be done, saying, games have always had a bad press. Since the invention of chess, history has not been kind to games. Grand Theft Auto V was the absolute embodiment of science meeting art. It should have been put at the forefront of the British games industry as a success, but instead it was castigated by the mainstream press. So there you go. And he also mentioned the mobile market as a cause for concern, saying, I love this quote, "For every Angry Birds, there's 20 million dead birds out there." Meaning all those clones and knockoffs, and everybody wants a piece of the pie when something gets big. But let's go back to his comments about we are in a second golden age of video games. What do you guys think of when you hear that? And I'm going to pose this to our chat room as well over at live.vognetwork.com. What do you guys think when you hear that? Do you tend to agree that we are experiencing a second golden age of games? Because I know for a while there, like even just a year or two on this show, we were talking about that it seemed like another video game crisis or crash akin to what we saw Atari go through in '84 was imminent. Are we in a golden age? What do you think, Logie?
I don't think we're going to have a crash because there's just too many independents. That's the thing. You don't have, big publishers kind of ruling everything. Now you have, people just fucking fed up with publishers and they're leaving their development companies and starting their own development companies. And hell, it's easy now, probably way easier than it was back in the 80s, to start your own development house and build your own games because you don't fucking have to build motherboards anymore. You just fucking download a game engine or learn, a language and you can output to, iOS or Android or PC and relatively easy. And so you can kind of take those creative ideas and run with them.
Dark Soccer, what do you think? Are we in a golden age of gaming?
I wouldn't necessarily say a golden age. I'd just say that we're in I would probably say a hybrid metal stage. Hybrid metal. Semi-precious. I think that it's exactly what Loki said. I think that we've got definitely a lot of... I'm going to say it's actually the age of the small business in gaming, where you've got independent developers getting in, basically sticking it to the man and being successful. Yeah.
I was just going to say, yeah, because you can have like a company try to do, really shady, stupid things like EA, and, have that totally flop, and the whole industry is not going to crash because of it.
To be fair, EA's kind of been sitting in the background this year. I think EA took their licks, and they're kind of, they've let other guys take a beating this year. And we've even talked about this before where
Really?
It seems like all the big companies kind of cycle through and somebody's getting a beat. Yeah, okay. Who's had it worse this year, Loki? EA or Ubisoft?
Recently, within the last few months, Ubisoft.
Mm-hmm.
EA, let's look at the track record here. They implemented their wonderful EA service where you pay $30 to get demos of games now. And also, they're basically blocking their games from being part of any of the free deals that you get on PlayStation Network or on Games of Gold because they want pieces of the pie, of course, and because of them they're probably going to see more segregation with different. I can totally see Ubisoft and Activision following suit and having their own services where you have to pay X amount of money per year in order to get their games. So there's that. Yes, I understand that Ubisoft's games, at least the last couple of them, have been pretty rocky at launch, but I just think that there's just, I don't know, especially in the mobile side, because you don't see that with Ubisoft that much. On the mobile side, there's some really shady shit that they've done, with the whole, now I'm not sure if this is last year at this point, but, with fucking, was it Dungeon Keeper and that kind of stuff? I mean, it's just really... they really hoard those microtransactions, and I guess they can do it, but it kind of soils some of these popular franchises that they're bringing back.
Lots of comments in our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com. Dungeon Buster saying there wasn't going to be a crash. The market's too diversified for it now because the tools are in everyone's hands. Act Def saying, I think we're in a video game renaissance right now. I like that word. Johnny B79 saying, I don't think we have another golden age going. Wait until 2015 maybe. It's the indies age. S200 Matt saying, gaming has its many problems, but I don't think it will crash as a whole. Are we in a golden age? I don't know. I think we won't know about that until time has passed enough for us to look back at this time.
Well, and look at look at what these big companies are putting out now. I mean, it's basically franchises, yearly franchises seem to be the case, like with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed, and they're kind of trying to get new franchises that they can have yearly editions of because they think that's what's going to sell. But look at some of the, these indie games that are getting a ton of attention. Like even with, the E3 press conferences and stuff, indies seem to be the forefront of a lot of these presentations because they're unique games. It's different. You're not going to see, oh, cool, Madden's out again this year, or oh, cool, another Call of Duty, or oh, cool, another Assassin's Creed.
I don't know, Loki. Kevin Spacey, though.
Hey, Kevin Spacey's awesome.
People got pretty excited about Kevin Spacey.
He's pretty awesome, and the game is fun. But comparing it to last year's game, I mean, that was a really low mark to hit because Ghost wasn't very good, whereas Black Ops 2 is pretty good. And if I was to compare this to Black Ops 2, it's pretty similar, the style of game, but they've added a few different mobility things that make it a little interesting. But it's not a completely new game. It's just a little different.
Right.
So, but and I applaud like Battlefield, doing Battlefield Hardline. That's kind of cool. It's different. Instead of just throwing out another military shooter again. So I'm kind of down with that, but. It's still, though, they're trying to, a lot of times they're just put out these yearly releases, and it just seems like not a lot of effort's going into them, and it kind of shows in the reviews even. Like, I think NBA Live, though, this year did a little bit better than last year, but it was just kind of, right. It's like, why even bother with some of these?
I sort of feel like video gaming right now is at a bit of a crossroads. I definitely see the whole rise of indie development, and it does seem like it's so much more accessible now for people to go in and create their own games. Because it's not just that the tools are there to necessarily create games, because the tools to create games have been there for a very long time. Like I think of going all the way back to the Apple IIe and the Commodore 64 days, the stuff that us 30-somethings played when we were in elementary school, right? I remember you could type in and you could make your own programs. And we even learned about doing things like, what was that drawing program with the turtle? Is that Logo?
Turtle?
It's like is it just called Turtle? I thought
it might have been Logo. I don't remember.
The programming language was called
Wasn't
Logo.
It like Logo Writer or something?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, but that was how we learned logic and programming at a young age, right? That was the big thing. I don't even know if that's something they still do with kids.
Hope they do. That's pretty awesome, and I completely retain none of that. But
yeah. What was the name of that game that really influenced me as a child? Oregon Trail.
I remember going to the computer labs, with the monochrome green screens and stuff. But it was just. It's like Logo. Don't even remember that. It was all Carmen Sandiego and Oregon Trail. I mean that's all we played, right?
Yeah, but learning how to program in Logo and the turtle drawing and all that stuff is so important because learning about like if then and logic and things like going into my job that I do now or something I used to do a few years ago. I don't do it so much now, but I used to write a lot of policy documents. And a lot of that same like logic gating comes into play, and it's like you learned that at a young age.
I think really it would be cool if they did have even just like a programming course and do it with games. I think games would be a good way because it's something that's interesting to
I think they kind of do that
age group.
I think they kind of do that, Logie. I think like in my junior high school, that was like an elective we were able to take.
Yeah, because I don't know if they do that.
I was in band,
at least when I went to high school, they didn't have anything like that. They only had like typing.
Right.
It was like typing and typing too, and so it's like okay, that's kind of dumb. But it would be cool if they had that. I I'd be down with that.
Anyway, I got a little tangenty. Sorry. So I feel like on computers, that's always been something we could do. But when consoles came out, when like let's say even the Atari 2600 or the Nintendo Entertainment System, like no, you couldn't just make your own Nintendo game. I mean, some people did and could, but that was something you really had to have the tools to be able to do. But now you're seeing more and more as we enter this more digital era where, even on, PlayStation 4, not only is the marketplace more opened up for these smaller publishers to put their own creations directly on the store, be that Apple's App Store, Android Store, Steam, those types of services, or even now you're seeing more and more of it on Wii U, PlayStation, Xbox, like those are really opening up as well. And it just seems like even within games themselves, there's more tools to create games. And I'm talking about things like Twine, right? Which, is a big popular, people create their own text adventure games and so forth. Or even something like Little Big Planet, I would argue, in a way, is a game creation. Like just last week, we were talking about that somebody had recreated Final Fantasy VII within Little Big Planet. And there's so much you can learn about making a game from developing your own level in Little Big Planet. Like we have more games now that allow you to make games. It's a very meta world that we're in right now in gaming in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be cool to see I would love to see Mario Maker and stuff to have that actually a little bit more advanced to where you could sell level packs and stuff where you can kind of advertise your stuff and make have a marketplace for that kind of stuff would be pretty cool.
Going to our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com. Many, many chatters in there confirming it is Logo. We've got linked to the Wikipedia articles. That was... Logo meant something else 20 years ago, and now I'm like, oh, that's what channel RuPaul's Drag Race comes on as Logo, but, now, a little different now. Anyway, going to chat over at live.vognetwork.com, talking about... Akuma JP saying, I hate to say this, but good indie is good, but too many garbage around now. I'm kind of sick of it. Well, that's what the guy was talking about in his speech was that, for every angry bird, there's 20 million dead birds. There is a lot of garbage out there.
Yeah, and there's a lot of garbage even on Steam, and it's people... I would like to think that it's just people trying to cash in quickly. There's been, in a lot of these developers... they're not professional in their game making. They're not professional in the way they interact with the community and the press and that kind of stuff. So I think that there's some of those out there, but legitimately, I think a lot of people are actually trying, to get stuff on there, and they're not trying to just throw some crap together to get people to buy their game and then never update it again, just make a quick buck, because that's only going to work once. I mean, you're not going to be able to pull that trick off twice. So, I don't know. There have been some pretty terrible games. But that's what what reviews for. That's why they have, ratings.
There is that, but I would even argue that, some people are there just to cash in. We know that. But some people can also learn something from a quote-unquote terrible game. Like, look at some of the, funny little joke projects. I use that term loosely that we've talked about on OLR lately. For instance, let's talk about Bobby while he's not here. Because there was that whole Flappy Vog thing that he did on the website, right? Which you can still go and play. And, it was a silly version of Flappy Bird that we all got to get involved with and lend our voices to. But think about everything that he learned from that project. He learned about developing Unity on the web. He learned about how to interface it with the Vogue website that he built because, there's the high score table that's built in. It does the loot and all that stuff. He can take that knowledge and use it on something else.
Yeah.
Or even, Aaron had called in a couple weeks ago talking about the Pixel Shits game that he made, which we loved because that was spurned off an idea here at Orange Lounge Radio, which, by the way, I have to make sure I give this a shout out at some point. I'm so sorry to be so tangenty, but I don't want to forget this. You have to check out this user on Twitter. It's Clickrocks, CLICKROCKS, because earlier this week, he actually tweeted a box art that he made for Pixel Shits for YYR in the vein of an Atari. I just brought it up here in studio.
Squeeze.
In the vein of
Awesome.
Atari 2600. It's awesome. And Aaron saw it and loved it. I sent it to him on Twitter.
But see that, and that's,
but that was a learning project for Aaron, too.
yeah, it's a
He
learning
even said
project
that.
for him. But it's also another thing too is it boils down how simple a game can be, and it can be fun. And sometimes the most simple things. Look at the games that were on the Atari 2600. They literally had some of them one objective, and this one is make shits on the ground to stop the joggers. That's literally, and a lot of times
the crazy thing about Pixel Shits is it really is not a bad for a joke project. It's a really authentic 2600 game. I could have, I don't think it would have been a game about shit on the 2600. That's what makes it funny. But I could see this same idea where you're leaving, sand traps on the ground
Pixel
for
poop.
people. Yeah,
Pixel poops.
Pixel twigs and berries on the ground. I could see this as an actual game on the 2600.
I got it. Pixel Squish.
Yeah, Pixel Squish, the Family Channel version of the game. Anyway, tangent-y, but good stuff. All right, there you go. So we would invite your emails on this at a future date over at participate@orangeloungeradio.com if you want to email us on that. But in the meantime, we got to get to tonight's news, and I also want to start off tonight's show, as we always do, talking about how was your gaming week and what video games have you been playing this week. Dark Sakura.
I have 2 weeks worth of games. I have Dragon Age Inquisition, of course, which I'm starting over because I might have screwed up my Soulless Romance, which I know is going to make me cry. It's already been kind of spoiled for me, but that's okay because I'm doing it anyway. I'm playing a Elven Mage, so that was fun. I also have been... I actually played some Final Fantasy XIV earlier last week, but I haven't touched it since Inquisition came out. I played some other stuff, though. I played some Bejeweled. I got that Ingress thing, but I'm too lazy to go walk around my neighborhood. So I haven't done anything with it. It was just pretty, so I just started looking at the colors for a while and was like, oh, going crazy.
Did you really get into that?
I just got the game. I haven't done much in it, as in anything.
You signed up for Green Team, right?
Yes.
Good.
Because I remember you saying that you hated the Smurfs. So I did that then.
There's some listeners of this show I know play Ingress and happen to be Smurfs. I don't hate Smurfs. Hate's a strong word. They just annoy me. And there's one guy here locally that really annoys me. But
I'll walk around your neighborhood.
That's the game.
Okay. I also picked up crap. Now I forgot the name of it. It's not Injection or something. It's I can remember what it was something I got actually for for Mac, and now for the life of me I can't remember what it was called, but it's on Steam as well. And then I picked up crap, now I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, a game called Mountain. It's 99 cents and it's not really a game. You're just a mountain. A mountain floating in the sky, and you can spin around and you can move all around the mountain, but it's a mountain. You're just floating there. You're a mountain.
In the mountain.
No, you are.
You are the mountain.
The mountain.
But you can spin. How does a mountain spin?
It's floating in the air. It's a floating mountain.
All right.
With clouds. It has clouds too and rain noises. It's just it actually is super relaxing.
I'm surprised. I would think a game like Volcano would be more up your alley.
That would be my version of it. Yeah. But no, it's 99 cents. It's worth the $1 just to look at it for the novelty's sake.
You paid a whole $1 for
I paid
that?
a whole $1 for that. Rob, I spent $4 on you today.
That's true.
And $1 on Alan.
But I'm worth it. A mountain, though?
Maybe you're worth it.
Mountains you climb. I don't know. All right, anyway. Enough about the mountains. Let's talk to Loki. How was your gaming week?
My gaming week is now involving me filling out that claim form for free Red Bull. Hell yeah.
I thought that was months ago.
Well, I just remembered about it, and you can still fill it out. So
maybe I'll have to do that too.
Anyways, so this week I played a few things. I did get around to playing some Call of Duty, so I played that. I think I leveled up because they had double XP this weekend from like 19 to I think 25, so that was pretty fun. I actually played on a few maps I haven't played yet, so I thought I had seen them all because I guess it just doesn't cycle through them very well, but got the 2 different maps that I haven't played. And then I played actually quite a bit of Lego Marvel Superheroes. I think I went through about 3 or 4 levels, mainly because my son kept making me watch. There's this, was it Maximum Overload? And Lego Marvel Superheroes Maximum Overload, which is it's like a web series / movie that's like 20 minutes long, and he's watched it about 10 times in the last 3 days. And so it's hilarious. And Troy Baker is, in it. So, Troy Baker, all the things. And, apparently I didn't realize he does several voices in the game. So he does Loki, and he also does Hawkeye. So cool. And the story's weird, but I'm going with it. And so, yeah, I played that and enjoying it. Although once I'm done, I'm probably never going to play it again. And then Grand Theft Auto 5. I played a little bit of that, got through some more missions on that, and I was trying... So, this is the only thing I don't like about the PlayStation 4. And it's probably good for this reason, but for me, the hacking, cracking, modding type, I don't enjoy it because there's no way to remove updates from games unless you... So I have to delete the whole game and re-download it in order to remove updates, because there was an exploit that you could do with the stock market where you can basically buy and sell some stock that's negative and it keeps giving you money. And I wanted to cheat so I can get more money so that I,
But
can
they
play
sell
through it.
money online, right? Don't
Well, they do sell money for Grand Theft Auto Online, but not for the single-player game. And here's the thing, though, is actually that's not such a big deal because I did pre-order the game digitally, so I'm supposed to get $500,000 for my characters, but I haven't gotten to the point in the game where it gives me that. So it would be nice to have that now, but whatever. It's, I guess, later on once I get all 3 characters, and it's going to give it to me for all 3 characters.
Is this the downside to you having bought digitally? Because if you'd bought that game on disc, you could have just unplugged yourself from the internet and done that, right? And never updated the game.
No, I still would download the update. I would probably be able to download the app or delete the update, and it would have been a lot faster. I'd just be able to install it. But now I have to re-download 50 gigs worth of game, and honestly, it's just not worth it. I'll play it the regular way. But it's just I've played the game before 100% and completed everything, and I know how long it takes. And I'm kind of like, I want to get 100% so I can start doing, the Easter egg hunting stuff again, because that was kind of fun, and hopefully they have more, it's actually finished in this version of the game. But, I don't really want to have to do everything again. I want it to be as quickly as possible. I want to cheat through everything because I've already done it, and I just don't want to have to, work through getting 100% on everything again, because it was a pain in the ass the last time. So, yeah, that's why I'm doing that. But, whatever, I'll just play it. I haven't been going back to it very much, so that's the thing is I thought I'd be really playing a lot more of it. And I still haven't even played Grand Theft Auto Online yet. I haven't transferred my characters over yet, but I probably will at some point. But I'm kind of waiting for them to put out an expansion. They're supposed to do it now that the new games come out, maybe when the PC version comes out, but I really need a single-player expansion.
All right. Crossing my fingers for you.
I did also forget of playing Smash Brothers on Wii U.
Oh, yeah. How'd you enjoy that?
It was 8 players of madness.
8 players is kind of crazy. It depends on how big your TV is, I suppose. But I seem to remember you guys have a pretty big TV. But imagine playing 8 players on our littler TV in there. It's kind of crazy. We tried doing that, and it's like, oh my gosh, just 4 players is great. 8 players, you got to have the right setup for that.
Yeah, but I forgot to mention it.
That's where Jonas's and Diego's anime game room team can get us a projection screen or something that's big enough. That would be my hope. Let's see. Chat comment over at live.vognetwork.com. Johnny B79 says, Rob, are you playing Final Fantasy 14 and WoW plus Dragon Age? Geez, you got a hectic schedule. Actually, the answer to that question is kind of yes. I did play some Dragon Age Inquisition this week, but not a lot. That game took a little bit of a back seat this week. And yeah, luckily I've not had work since Thursday because my office job affords me, the 4 days that a lot of, banks and so forth get for this holiday. So I've had a lot of time to kind of sit on my butt and play video games, which has been great. So yeah, I have been able to play a couple of MMOs. So let's talk first about that. If you follow me on Twitter, then you probably saw earlier this week, I did succumb to the fact that I knew I was going to be going back to World of Warcraft because I've heard nothing but great things about this new expansion. So yes, I re-signed up for World of Warcraft, and I've been playing that quite a bit over the past few days, which is funny because I know Irene was here last week filling in for Jamie. We had a bit of a deep discussion that kind of went to a dark place a little bit on World of Warcraft. We were talking about some of the negatives of it because I believe Irene said... She didn't say the word hate. She used another very strong word. And she used to play Warcraft all the time, and now she couldn't stand it. And it was just kind of interesting to talk about that and the social dynamic. But all that stuff aside, I've been hearing nothing but great things about Warlords of Draenor. So I was like, all right, what the hell? I've got some time here off work. Blizzard has announced their Black Friday sales. Warlords of Draenor isn't on it. So let's just buy the damn thing. Let's get in there and see what's going on. So I have leveled an Alliance character up to 94, just shy of 95, and a Horde character up to about 91, just because I want to get my Garrison triggered on the Horde character. You
didn't use your redemption code?
My 90 boost, I haven't yet. No, my character to get boosted to 90. I'm waiting to see what I want to do with that because... I have a tune on one server, Proudmoore, where I used to know a lot of people that played, but almost everybody that was on Proudmoore left for another server. So I have my Alliance tune on server Blade's Edge, and that's where the guys from Gameboy.org play and some of their friends. So that's why I've kind of been focusing on that server because I know people that are actively playing there.
I know who you're playing.
Yeah. And so my Holy Pally, yes, that's the character I'm working on right now. So my 90 boost, what I'm sitting on that is maybe I'll find out I have some friends somewhere else. In fact, already on Twitter, another podcasting friend of mine is like, you should come to Earthen Ring because we have a guild over here on Horde side. So I'm saving that 90 boost for when I need a character on a server. That way I don't have to pay to transfer one of the ones I have, if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So just waiting for that to happen. I kind of want to I don't really want to get super married to WoW, though. I don't know if I want to get into the whole raiding a couple times a week and all that again. I just don't know if my life is compatible with that anymore. But I will say, just on the pure standpoint of the expansion, leveling from 90 to 100 and that whole bit, I am pretty impressed at this expansion. This expansion really is the best one they've had since at least Lich King. It knocks the other two, Cataclysm and Pandaria, knocks them out of the water. And a lot of that is that they've really made the experience very cinematic. I was very surprised by, you get right into the action and then you're in an arena fighting 100 people and fighting them off. And then somebody's yelling, run to the docks. And you're having to get your character who's got a speed boost and running through all this madness as fast as possible. Like, they've really taken some steps in this very old engine to make it very cinematic. And, when you get introduced to the orcs that make up the Iron Horde and the important players in the storyline, now the camera will pan by them and the title will come up and, it'll be like Khadgar, and so you have a little bit of a name to a face and that whole thing. So there's a very cinematic approach to it, which is something that I've really loved in Final Fantasy XIV. So I kind of love that, Warcraft is upping the ante in that regard. I've done a little bit of the dungeons. I did the first 2 dungeons, the Iron Docks and the Slag Mines, I think it's called. That's the only downside to the expansion I can think of so far. It's not that the dungeons were necessarily bad, but it's that there is still a lot of toxic people playing World of Warcraft. And I know we just had a story last week about World of Warcraft subscribers numbers are back up. Well, I think a lot of the toxic people came back because I was running with, talking about Gameboy.org, I was running with Captain Spike and First Mate Slidekick. We were running one of those dungeons together. And Slidekick hadn't tanked a dungeon in a very long time, so he was taking it a little bit slow. And somebody spoke up and said, well, if this retarded tank would go any faster... And I just typed in all caps, dude, calm down. So we're going a little slower. It's not like a snail's pace. Do you have to jump out and start yelling at people and calling them names? And it's like, oh my God.
That's just when I vote kick.
Well, we did. Here's the other crazy part. We tried to vote kick because we have 3 people, right? Mm-hmm. So we should be able to get a vote kick through. No, you need 4. And the other pug voted against it. So we weren't able to kick the person. So not only, it would be one thing if there was a toxic player and everybody else was like, fuck you, boot. But this guy was able to stay around. Now, I realize I can't really point and say this is Blizzard's fault, because it's not. It's the toxic environment and it's the people that need to be dealt with. But I have to call it out as something that made me a little bit sad, because I feel like when WoW was at its worst, the player base that stuck with it, God love them, at least would not resort to this kind of crap. So just don't be a dick if you're playing these online games or any game in general. Just don't be a dick. What? It's going to take 5 more minutes to get through a dungeon? Calm your tits. Anyway. So otherwise, though, the Garrison's super addicting, even though it's kind of like a big Facebook game that they've worked into WoW. It's great that as you're working on your Garrison, or as I call it, Mr. Garrison, as I'm working on my Mr. Garrison, that I will get rewards like gold, or I will get rewards like experience for my character, or that I can build this enchanting hut that will disenchant my things for me and give me it's like, even though I didn't level this profession, I could have access to it anyway. So it really simplified a lot of things in that regard. So there's a lot of really neat things that they did in Draenor. Overall, at the end of the day, though, am I going to run away from Final Fantasy XIV? No, because the games are really different, and there's still a lot I really enjoy about Final Fantasy XIV. Like, I talk about World of Warcraft being very cinematic, but there's never going to be anything in World of Warcraft. There's just not going to be anything in it like the introduction to the Shiva battle from the most recent Final Fantasy XIV patch, which was so
or the
fucking
music.
epic. Or the music. I mean, WoW has great music. I'm sorry, 14 with the dynamic soundtrack and everything, like, is a step above.
And
it really is.
No fat chocobos.
That's right. WoW does not have fat chocobos, unfortunately. It does have pet battles, though. Final
Which is stupid.
Final Fantasy XIV is not perfect. The cross-realm server and the flex rating and all that stuff really changed WoW in a really, really good way. And I really wish that was in Final Fantasy XIV. Like, it is a little silly that we're all isolated on this one particular island, and I can't play with these people over here. I would really like to be able to do that. I'm hoping that is something they will work on as they get to their expansion, Heaven's Word, and all that.
But our UK friends can play on our servers.
Ooh, good point. You're right. Our UK friends in Final Fantasy XIV can play on our servers.
That's right. We can go play on the Japanese servers, and we have an auto translator.
That's right. That is an advantage of Final Fantasy XIV versus WoW. At the end of the day,
also the advantage of
you can make macros for working with other countries.
Right.
That's also the advantage of having Final Fantasy XIV being developed by a Japanese company versus an American company.
They're just different, and I realize Final Fantasy XIV is only a quarter the size of World of Warcraft, so it's tough to really compare the two games.
Or is it a British company? I guess it's a British company. I don't know.
It's
an English-speaking company. There you go.
Anyway, the competition is good. Because I see things in this new WoW expansion, I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was lifted from Final Fantasy XIV. I'm pretty sure that came out of 14. But at the same time, Realm Reborn would not fucking exist if it's not for World of Warcraft. I mean, Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 is a hot fucking mess. And luckily, Yoshi P, the producer, played a lot of World of Warcraft and took a lot of the great things that WoW did and made Final Fantasy XIV a playable game because of it. So as long as the competition between the two and other players, WildStar, Guild Wars, Elder Scrolls, as long as the competition is a good, healthy thing and keeps these games on their toes and getting better, great, we all win.
FYI,
our wallets lose. What?
I have a red chocobo.
Congratulations.
His name is Hot Wings.
Congratulations. Pow in our chat room saying, I'm still trying to get my mount in Final Fantasy XIV. I love the game, but I get lost all the time. I have no sense of direction. SS200 Matt says, I think this was a bad luck scenario. Usually you'll be able to kick someone for being an asshat. It's just really unfortunate when time is more important to somebody when you're playing
being a decent human
being. Like when you're playing one of the biggest fucking time sink games in the universe, which World of Warcraft is in a way. So anyway. All right.
I'd just been like, stop being a shit.
Pretty much. Anyway, and now for something completely different, because there is one other game I've spent an awful lot of time playing this week that actually has nothing to do with MMOs or swords and sorcery or any of that stuff, and that is, on the PlayStation 4, I've been playing quite a lot of Geometry Wars 3, which came out on the PlayStation 4 just this past week, developed by Lucid Entertainment, which is made up, as I understand it, of some of the key players that used to be with Bazaar, and now it's published under Activision's new indie banner, Sierra, which is not really a new banner, it's an old banner. But anyway, you don't care about who made it. You just want to know, is the game good? And I have to say, yes, the game is awfully good. I'm really enjoying Geometry Wars 3. It is quite the departure from Geometry Wars 1 and 2 visually, but gameplay-wise, not really. Obviously, the big trick in Geometry Wars 3 is that now a lot of the grids are in 3 dimensions, and because of that, they're in different shapes as well. Now, differently shaped grids is nothing new for Geometry Wars, because if you ever played the Geometry Wars game that was on the Wii, which was really underplayed and underrated, there was different shaped maps in that as well. So the different shapes of the stages and so forth are nothing new for Geometry Wars, but in the 3 dimensions, certainly, you have to kind of think about the way you're moving can really change what you can see on a stage. Let me put it this way. So imagine you're playing on a stage that looks like a giant log, like a big cylinder, type of log that's very long but very narrow. Well, if you're playing on the stage but you're playing in 3 dimensions, you can imagine as you get to the bottom of the log, if you don't make a complete 180, if you take more of a 90-degree turn, now you're going to flip that so that it's shaped more like a tree, and now it's it's tall on your screen and narrow. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like, you can flip the stage on its side, but that can really control how much you can see of the ships that are coming and what's attacking you.
So if you go in certain directions, it might roll down the stairs and over your neighbor's dog.
Fuck off. Anyway, but what's really great about this game is that not only do you have that adventure mode where you have all these different shaped stages to play and so forth, but you also have, classic mode where a lot of the same stuff from Geometry Wars 2 comes back, such as pacifism mode and king mode and all this stuff is available for you to play. They added a little twist now where you have little companions with you that you can either have be like additional firepower, or they can go and collect the little multiplayer bonuses. They can lay down mines. They do all these other things too. So I like a lot of the enhancements that they made to the game. It still definitely feels like a Geometry Wars game. And if you just want to play like old school Geometry Wars, you kind of can. And what I mean by that is you can play with the old rules and the old enemies, but it is still in the new graphics. But that's okay, because the new graphics for the most part are very good. The only time I get a little overwhelmed is that sometimes I think my little partnership guy that's floating around with me, the one that goes out and collects all the multipliers, I keep thinking that he's an enemy, so I try to shoot him and avoid him, but it's like, no, that's your friend. Don't... you can run up and give him a hug. So sometimes you get a little overwhelmed graphically in that regard, but I'm enjoying the game. I think it's pretty awesome. Let's see. Robert M. in chat over at live.vognetwork.com says, I've heard a lot of comparisons to Super Stardust. Well, if you think about it, Super Stardust was kind of inspired a little bit by the original Geometry Wars, so it's not that far of a stretch. I mean, a lot of twin stick shooters, owe a lot to Geometry Wars. So there you go. Those are the 2 big games that have been taking up my week. In addition to the old regulars, I've actually been playing a lot of Diablo 3 this week as well. Just with Alan has been playing a lot. He's probably playing it right now. He's been playing a lot of Diablo 3, and we're leveling seasonal characters together because I really want to get him to 70 before they pull the plug on Season 1 so he can get his transmog armor. So we've been playing a lot of Diablo 3 as well. Anyhow, enough about our gaming weeks. Let's get to the news right after some housekeeping. Very important housekeeping note for the show. Don't forget, next week, December 7th, that is our next episode. That is going to be the early show, meaning we are going to be broadcasting at vognetwork.com at noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. And for those of you guys overseas in the UK, this is great news for you because that's going to be 8 o'clock at night for you guys. So no excuses. You can be here and participate with the show and call in. We'll try to open up the phones a little earlier than usual so that those of you guys in the UK, more of you guys can call in and participate. We really look forward to hearing from you guys. Certainly, if you're here in the States and you happen to be around at noon or 3 p.m., you can still tune in and still participate in all that good stuff. The other thing to note is that it will be rebroadcast at 6 o'clock after Bobby Blackwolf. For those of you guys that are kind of used to hearing it at 6 o'clock, it will be rebroadcast, but it will not be live. Some of us have some holiday commitments we're going to in the evening, so we're not going to be around. But next show will be December 7th at noon Pacific, 8 o'clock in the UK. Check your world clock and convert noon San Francisco time on Sunday to your local time to figure out when we will be on. All right. Otherwise, twitter.com/OLR and facebook.com/orangeloungeradio are always the places to find us and friend us and be a fan of the show and keep independent broadcasting alive. We really appreciate it. All right, let's get into some gaming news. It's been a slow week, but there's still been some pretty big news to come out of this week, right, Loki?
Yeah, Sony has had to settle with the Federal Trade Commission over charges that it produced false and misleading advertisement during the launch of the Vita. And apparently, if you happen to have purchased the Vita before June 1st, 2012, you can either get $25 cash or credit refund or a $50 voucher for select games and services. And basically, some of the examples, they were saying that were kind of misleading. For example, they said, they claimed that the Vita could pause any PS3 game at any time and continue to play on the Vita. I think they were showing that off with like MLB, one of the MLB games.
I remember that.
MLB The Show, which I think it was available on that one, but it's not. It kind of implies that you can do that with everything, which you couldn't. And also, saying that if you own the 3G version of the device, that you could engage in. They're saying live multiplayer games through the 3G network, which, God, no, that's definitely not possible.
And to be perfectly frank, there's really no reason to own a 3G Vita. Do they even make them anymore?
They don't make them anymore, and I bought a 3G Vita.
Me too, because at some point in the whole thing, Amazon had it like a bundled deal that was cheaper if you got the 3G model, or like maybe it was like $10 more. So
I got the one that came out slightly earlier. I think it was like a week. It was out a week earlier, but it was... Yeah, the price ended up being pretty good based off what it was. You got a memory card in there, and it was not so bad.
But, now that I think about it, I was like, they did kind of say that. And then I remember that the 3G really did nothing except, you can manage your friends lists and send messages and do Twitter and Facebook on your Vita if you really want to. But in this age of smartphones, it didn't really make sense because
they had like asynchronous multiplayer is basically the only thing you do.
Which multiplayer over 3G would not be fun.
No.
Anyway, for most Sony PlayStation experiences. I mean, I suppose if you were playing a Scrabble-like game on the Vita, then that would work.
How the fuck did we do multiplayer then back in the days of dial-up? I mean, shit. I remember playing some dial-up multiplayer games like Command & Conquer and stuff that it was able to handle that.
Actually, you've got a good point. Maybe it could have done more over 3G than we give it credit for. I mean, there are iPhone and Android games that do multiplayer that run pretty decently. I mean, there's MMOs on the freaking iPad, so they work pretty decently. But
whatever. Cool. $50. I'm looking forward to getting another rebate because I did buy one, although I don't have my system anymore. But I did pay for one, so I'm owed my $50, right?
Yeah, this news kind of caught me by surprise. I mean, I was like, all right, I guess if they're going to be giving me $50 in merchandise or whatever, then I just hope
I'll take $50 in merchandise.
I hope. Does $50 in merchandise mean like a gift certificate for the PlayStation Store? Because
that'd be awesome.
I'd rather buy like a PS4 game than a Vita game, which I think says a lot about my Vita, my poor Vita. But I guess I was just kind of taken by surprise because I didn't realize that this was something that the FTC was going after Sony for. And it's not like I've necessarily been sitting here going, Sony's lied to me and Sony had all these issues and da-da-da. But I think we've all kind of been sitting here going, the Vita didn't really turn out the way we all thought it was going to.
Let's be honest. I mean, people have sued and won against Red Bull for claiming that it doesn't give you the ability to fly. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that that they are having this.
It doesn't really give me wings?
No, it doesn't give you wings.
What? Does it give me horns?
So, I guess I'm not surprised that they did this. Cool. I mean, hey, if I can get in on this, then sure, I'll take some merchandise.
Well, is that just because you're like, oh, hey, free shit, or is
exactly? It's hey, free shit. Not I was duped. I mean, it was kind of underwhelming, some of the stuff that they came out with. Like, I was hoping that the Call of Duty game was going to be good, and I was hoping, that they'd have a Grand Theft Auto game on the Vita or Resistance and stuff. And all those games kind of were lame. And it's not necessarily Sony's fault, but it's just it didn't really come through with the promise of this portable gaming platform that was going to be so much better than the PSP was, and it just really kind of turned out like the PSP, if not maybe a little bit worse.
I would definitely say there's a part of me though that although I didn't necessarily have a problem with the Vita per se, I mean that was rooted in these issues that they got slapped on the wrist over. I mean, my issue is just that they weren't really putting out games on it. They had a pretty strong launch, and then boop, it dried up. And it's not even like the Wii U, where they trickled out, and now the Wii U has a pretty impressive backlog of good games to play. But the Vita never even... It was like, you could just play your PlayStation 4. We have a lot of indie games that are on every other platform.
I'd be down with getting one again if I could play my PlayStation 4 games over the internet, through my work's Wi-Fi. If it was going to be fast enough to do that, but I don't think it is. So, unfortunately, I just can't see myself doing that.
But there is a part of me that goes, you know what? They did say you'd be able to do 3G multiplayer, and you can't do that. And they did really make it seem like you were going to be able to pick up all your PlayStation games and do the streaming. You couldn't do that. So there is a part of me that's like, you know what? Some people do need to get slapped on the wrist for all these outrageous claims.
Well, what about? I guess it's concept though, but what about the Kinect? I mean, the same type of thing. They promised me I'd be able to scan in my skateboard and be able to use that skateboard in the game.
Oh, but that game got canceled.
Right. No, that they had that feature, but it ended up being you can scan in a picture, but it's just gonna pick up the color, and it's gonna be for was it that Kinect car racing game, and
now
and
Loki,
every color that you'd scan to be like pink because that camera was shit.
Now Loki on Xbox One, you can scan your face and put it in.
Oh
NBA.
yeah, that's so much better. Yeah, that's not an impossible task. You have to have like the proper lighting and a professional studio setup, and you have multiple shots of your face, and it still looks like fucking Quasimodo when you're done. So, yeah, no thanks. I'm okay. I don't need my face in the game.
Dark Sakura, do you believe that Sony should have been slapped on the wrist about this whole thing, the way they're being?
Yeah, false advertising. I mean, really. I mean, they might probably put it out with the expectation that it was going to be able to do that, but reality and expectation can be two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the very least, I think that having some sort of compensation for the lack thereof is a good idea.
Yeah. Boy, so more bad news about the Vita for Sony. I mean, it really seems like that platform is going kaput unless that PlayStation Vita TV or whatever can really turn things around.
I think that can really do well for them because, I mean, I can only see the price of that going down. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's a good alternative if you're looking for something to stream Netflix on or something. It's not bad. And plus, I mean, if you're looking like to get in on some of these digital games, and if you have PlayStation Plus, you already have a library for that thing.
And there are those few Vita games that you really do need to play. So like there's Persona 4, right? I mean, there are some Vita games that you are missing out on by not having it. I mean, you could probably count them on one hand, but you could have a place to play those,
Well, Persona 4, that was just on PlayStation 3.
Yeah, but isn't the Vita one the definitive version? Didn't they add extra stuff to it or something? Thought they did.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's not a bad platform, and, at least it's region-free.
That's true. There is always that.
It's your only region-free handheld at this point because, thank you, Nintendo.
Well, speaking of Nintendo and handhelds, actually, Nintendo filed a very interesting patent this week. One of the posters over on the big NeoGAF forum found that there was actually a patent filed by Nintendo which regards emulation of classic Game Boy titles on various devices, including smartphones and tablets. And you could see all the blah, blah, blahs if you really want to kind of read through this. But essentially, at the end of the day, it talks about emulation of the Game Boy on smartphones, tablets, other types of screens. Like, think about like when you're on an airplane and you can play like games on those TV, depending on what airline it is. You can like play games now on those airline TVs. It covers all sorts of things like that. So this has a lot of people going. Is Nintendo? I mean, Nintendo's been under a lot of pressure from investors to do more with iPhones and Android devices because mobile's where it's at, right? Even though for every angry bird, there's 20 million dead birds.
Is this a way to get strikes against people that make emulators for these platforms?
Well, and that's what I wonder as well. Is it really about Nintendo wants to do something in themselves, or they want to stop other people from doing it so that people have to buy a 3DS?
But can they patent that? I mean, if other people have come up with emulators, but I mean, I would say other people came up with emulators before Nintendo came up with an emulator for those things. It'd be kind of hard to patent that. It's hard to patent software.
Yes, but at the same time, Nintendo probably patented it, or Nintendo probably invented the emulator while the Game Boy hardware was still under patent. Because hardware patents expire after a certain amount of time. That's why you have devices like the Retron console that will play all that stuff because technically they're allowed to do that. It's kind of a gray area legally, but it's one of those things.
I'm surprised we haven't seen like a Retron type console for handhelds.
The Retron 5 takes Game Boy Advance, which means Game Boy Regular as well. That's one of the 5 systems that it takes. So, and if you think about it, you could always run it through a Super Game Boy, do it that way. So in a way, it does. There you go. That would have been the first Game Boy emulator, right? Would have been the Super Game Boy.
Sort of, I guess.
Nintendo did this a long
but that's
time
a hardware emulator versus like a software emulator. I mean, it's actually emulating the hardware through hardware versus like a program, like where it's all emulated through a program.
See, it's tricky, but you're probably right. This is probably a preemptive strike to make sure that nobody tries to put like a Game Boy, like Pokemon Yellow or something.
Are they
on the market?
Coming up on that? Was it the Retron 5 stuff? Where they have all that available. Is that because, after a while the patents expire and they become, not public domain, but I don't know how exactly they do that legally, but is that because maybe the Game Boy one's coming up available? Maybe they're thinking that maybe someone's going to be able to legally emulate that stuff? Or not necessarily emulate, but like come up with like some sort of, I don't know. I don't know what their thought process is.
I think part of the reason why the Retron 5 has avoided Nintendo's wrath and these other companies' wrath is because you still have to have all the original cartridges to play the games. But if you're talking about downloading something to your phone, those aren't going to take cartridges. So now we're talking about the precious software is going to have to be, digital. And that's what Nintendo's really trying to prevent. You know what I mean? Again, it's about preventing Pokemon Yellow, Red, Blue, what other Game Boy games? All the Metroid 2 and all that from showing up as downloads.
I guess they could do it on phone. I mean, obviously they've done it on phones already. Touch screens, man. It's just not the same.
Yeah. Dark Tetsuya in our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com saying, I think they're just legally covering their asses as far as putting emulators on the various digital stores. Tiger Claw says people can download paid versions of apps that will work on their devices when they sideload it. So Nintendo making games on it, people will just pirate it. And Dark Tetsuya says, I found a few emulated GBA games on the Windows Phone Store. I'm just saying. I got a MAME emulator on the iTunes because it was a public domain game that had slipped under the radar, and Apple approved it, I guess, for publishing on the iTunes. But what it was a MAME emulator. So if you had any, and you didn't have to jailbreak your phone, you have any type of file tree browser, like what's that program, iFunbox or whatever, you could just plug in your iPad and dump ROMs into the directory, and this game would load all of the ROMs. And you could basically turn your iPhone or iPad into a MAME emulator. And this thing was up on the iTunes store for like 2 weeks before Apple pulled it. So what I'm saying is that if things like that can sneak through, there'll be Game Boy emulators that sneak through as well, and that's what
they've
Nintendo's
already
trying to prevent.
Have stuff like that. But yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't hold out that this means that Nintendo's going to put out like an official Game Boy emulator or something like that, or Virtual Console. It would be nice if they had Virtual Console on mobile. I mean, I just think their concern is that, and surprisingly not, their concern is that it wouldn't play as well as it would on, like a console or a handheld. Yeah. So I think that's why they're not, doing anything like that, because there's no way to guarantee you're going to get that same type of gameplay, and you just can't do that with touchscreen only.
Right. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. If Nintendo ends up going after anybody in the coming weeks, we'll see. But meanwhile, we have more news, right, Dark Sakura?
Well, we have another company doing the dance of accountability, and that is Ubisoft, of course. We know about the debacle over Assassin's Creed Unity. Well, they finally put out a formal apology. In fact, the apology comes from Yanis Malat, who is the CEO of Ubisoft Montreal. Basically, the quote goes, "I want to sincerely apologize on behalf of Ubisoft and the entire Assassin's Creed team. These problems took away from your enjoyment of the game and kept many of you from experiencing the game at its fullest potential. To show our appreciation for your continued support, we're making the upcoming Assassin's Creed Unity Dead Kings DLC free for everyone. For Season Pass holders, we will also offer the choice of one additional game from the selection of Ubisoft titles for free." So, and that's the direct quote. So, if you got the game, you get some free DLC. If you have the Season Pass, you get a free game.
Free DLC is an interesting slippery slope, though, because, I mean, they never had to charge that DLC in the first place, but I don't know. I suppose at the same time, if you're kind of accustomed to Assassin's Creed games at this point, you knew you were going to be paying $10, $15 for, expansions at some point down the line.
It's the business model nowadays.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
They have, it maybe just happened to have a, DLC set aside as an apology.
Yeah.
That could be entirely possible.
I think it was actually supposed to be the first legit part of the season pass.
Yeah. This isn't necessarily like when BioWare apologized over Mass Effect 3 and created DLC to give away for free, which in turn delayed all the rest of the DLC. But, that's...
Well, and they said they haven't necessarily canceled the Season Pass. Mm-hmm. They're just giving this away for free, and Season Pass holders are going to be compensated for what they've spent. Because
those people took a huge leap of faith, and many of them ended up disappointed because that lady was missing a fucking face.
Yeah, and they're being compensated by way of free games.
Dear NPC lady, sorry we forgot to give you a face. Love Ubisoft.
I think, Pal, I think you're misunderstanding. The Season Pass has not been canceled.
In our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com.
Yeah. The Season Pass is not canceled. They did not say it was canceled. They just said that they are giving Season Pass holders an alternative.
Which really the alternative should be Far Cry 4. You should really get Far Cry 4.
Well, Far Cry 3 maybe, but I don't think you're getting Far Cry 4.
No, Far Cry 4 is one of the games that they're allowing you to get.
Is it really?
Yeah, so
wow.
the game's The Crew, which is, we'll get into that.
So these are new Ubisoft games.
So The Crew, Far Cry 4, Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, Rayman Legends, Just Dance 2015. Okay, don't do Rayman Legends because that's probably dirt cheap now. Just Dance 2015 wasn't a full price game anyway, so really you're left with 4 games. Far Cry 4 is probably the best.
I don't know. I really like to dance, Loki.
It's not a full price game. Utilize your full free benefits.
I'm not smart shopping.
You're not smart shopping. Yes, exactly. Get the full price game free. Buy the other game at a discounted price.
All right. Well, what do you guys think? Is this a sufficient apology? Is this something Ubisoft had to do?
I think it's nice that they're doing that.
Their rep.
What they could have done is, I don't know, don't release a fucking buggy ass game at launch. I mean, especially with, I think Far Cry 4's got some issues too, but it's not as bad. And we're gonna get into their next game that's coming out, which could possibly have same issues because they're hiding behind some sort of excuse. So we'll see. And it was already delayed as it was, so I don't know.
This is one of those things where Ubisoft certainly didn't have to do it. It's a good face-saving move, pun intended. But I'm kind of curious, what is the long-term strategy to make sure this doesn't happen again? That's what I'd really like to kind of hear out of Ubisoft. Because, you're right, Loki. A lot of this is probably really rooted in the fact that the game was rushed.
Yeah. Well,
so I would just like to see Ubisoft say, you know what? We're going to take our these the steps we're taking to patch the game. But they do have that blog, so I think they're doing some of that.
Yeah, well, this is entirely EA 2013, or even 2014 to some extent. Because, for example, Battlefield 4 was a fucking mess, and it took a fucking long time to fix. And so what did they do with their big franchise games? They delayed them to make sure they were okay. Dragon Age Inquisition, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have any issues. Got great reviews. Battlefield Hardline's been delayed to March to give it more time so that they can have that game polished and make sure that it runs significantly better than Battlefield 4. So I think that they kind of learned their lesson, and you need to take more time and get your games right the first time instead of launching them and just hoping that there's not big bugs. I mean, how do you miss bugs like that? I don't think they did. I think what it came down to is that they launched it and they're like, well, we'll just fix it. We'll fix it in a day one patch, or we're hopefully going to get this patched up in time. I think they just did it just to get it out so that they can, because they had already delayed it once, from the end of October to coming, at the same time as Assassin's Creed Rogue, and whether that was just a timing thing so that there's not two Assassin's Creed games coming out at two different times, or if it was just they needed more time.
This is something that has to be fixed at a much higher level, I think.
Yeah, because honestly, we're all kind of sick of playing beta testers for this. You have a team of testers for these games. Bugs where the face is missing shouldn't be something that, I could see there could be a bug where if you do something really obscure that, something weird happens.
An exploit, more like.
Yeah, it's like some weird glitch or something, or maybe some weird AI behavior every now and then, and that's fine. But, Fate, just testing with this stuff, it doesn't make any sense that you wouldn't catch this, especially if it's in all versions of the game. I don't know.
All right, well, let's move on with some more news, Loki.
All right. So, speaking of different companies with issues, I don't even know why they're... I know why they're doing this, but it doesn't make any sense. Activision, so they've been issuing DMCA takedowns of YouTube videos for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now, that doesn't make much sense if you think about it, but they're only doing that on videos that they claim are promoting cheating or unfair exploits. So some of these games that have glitches in them, you'll see lots of glitch videos and stuff from Call of Duty, some of the past games and everything. But now, instead of, taking the time to fix these glitches, they're punishing the people that are finding these glitches and recording them in videos. So they're basically, I guess Machinima was warning its, members that, hey, Activision's being vigilant about Call of Duty videos lately, issuing strikes on videos showing glitches. If you post videos highlighting these glitches, your channel may be liable to receive copyright strikes, so please be careful. I'm sorry, but that is not what DMCA is for. DMCA is for stopping copyrighted footage from going out there, not because you don't like the video's content. So this is a slippery slope where, we don't want this video showing glitches in the game. We don't want this video coming out later on. Let's take it a step further. We don't want this video out there because it shows a bad review of the game or something like that. That is the, kind of the direction they're going here. And I'm sorry. You know what? Spend the time to fix it instead of punishing fans of your game showing these types of videos out. Hey, you know what? You're probably finding out about these glitches from these videos, so take the time to fix it instead of, now you don't have to pay your testers that much more because you're having people test for you. I don't know. I just don't understand why they're punishing people that are doing YouTube videos of their games.
And you're absolutely right when you say that this is not an appropriate use of DMCA.
That's not what it's for. And I don't know. Obviously, it's going to be hard for an independent YouTuber to fight back against it because they're not going to take
because YouTube always sides. YouTube does not this, and this is part of what pisses me off so much about YouTube. And this is warning, rant incoming. But you look back at the history of YouTube and all this stuff we've talked about before, and the other takedown notices they have, and the copyright strikes, and the way you fight it. They never side with the people that put them in the place that they're at. That is so fucked up. Why is there not a legit competitor out there to YouTube? It's probably because of the bandwidth and all that other stuff. But, people need another place because YouTube constantly sides against its own users.
And they know that for a fact. I bet their legal department knows that this is not the proper use of DMCA, but who's going to fight them on it? No one is going to fight them on it because they have so many lawyers and so much money to throw at it. It doesn't matter. They can shoot down anybody that tries to take them up on it.
And I'm sure someone would argue that YouTube has to be against its users and up all these other companies' asses because that's how they stay legal and avoid a lawsuit, and copyright suits would be worse and blah, 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 blah. But I kind of also think you're living in a fantasy world with some of that. I get, if somebody is going to take an entire episode of The Walking Dead and upload it to YouTube, that has to be taken down or whatever. But some of these other things that are in more of a legal gray area, like what you're talking about, where it's essentially, fair use and criticism.
What they need to have is like actual punishments for, false DMCA.
Yes.
Because they have, we've even seen this with like, don't want to go there, but like, some of the Gamergate stuff and some of the other, you'll see a lot of people using DMCA to try to take down videos they don't like. Whether it be independent developers who are questionable that want to take down bad reviews of their games or bad Let's Plays or whatever, or publishers trying to take down videos of glitches or something in their games. You can't do that. You either let the videos all go through, or you don't let any of them go through. I mean, that's the way I think it should be.
I am so down with the idea that strikes should apply both ways.
There should be. Well, it's hard to see who would mediate that, though. Who would determine, whether it's fair use or not. I don't know.
Anyway, let's move on. We're going to talk about a story. Maybe this has to be mediated too. I don't know. But GameStop has opened their mouths and said that they are worried that digital games are starting to become too cheap, and it's deterring customers from buying games at retail. This is a comment from Tony Bartel, who is GameStop's president. We want to help ensure that our industry does not make the same mistake as other entertainment categories by driving the perceived value of digital goods significantly below that of a physical game. When the free digital token programs end, we believe that the industry will need to work together to continue to price goods in a way that sustains profitability and encourages a great innovation that this category needs. He also said that research indicated that the average price a consumer pays for a full AAA game download is $22. Consumers expected to pay about $35.
It's supply and demand. I mean, if they're going to get it cheaper elsewhere, then they're going to get it cheaper elsewhere. That's why you don't sell PC games anymore. Well, they probably don't sell PC games very much anymore because you can get it cheaper on Steam or elsewhere at Origin. They're not always it's not always the cheapest way to go on these digital stores. And I would say even like on PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Marketplace, a lot of the times you're not going to see those deep discounts because there's no competition. It's you either get it on the PlayStation Network or you buy it physical, and that's it. Those are your two options. You're not going to be able to buy a code for some game cheaper on another marketplace like, Amazon or something like that. They're not going to really have it discounted. It's going to be the same price across the board.
Jamie, what do you think?
I honestly think that it's just another symptom of relying a little bit too much on consumerism. If you want to have something that the consumer is going to buy, you put it at a price the consumer is going to afford.
Right.
And there's a big advantage to going away from printed media in the fact that you are creating less waste. It takes up less space. You're actually dealing with something that is not just more economically viable, but environmentally viable. Something that's going to be an ongoing sustainable model as the technology just improves. And I really do think that GameStop has also made the poor decision of oversaturating the market. You can't. It's like seeing Starbucks everywhere. And unfortunately, not everybody needs to buy a video game twice a day, like some of us are with our coffee. So it doesn't, as digital distribution is becoming more and more prevalent, it's basically what we ran into with Blockbuster versus having the red box or versus Netflix. It's going to be obsolete before too long. They're on their way to obsolescence,
right,
and they see it coming.
Going to our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com, Rama says, well, GameStop, you wouldn't have to worry if you didn't oversaturate with retail stores and dick people on trade-in prices. Kind of part of what you said there, Jamie.
Let's be honest.
Hold on. Okay. Dungeon Buster says, too cheap. Let's not forget that GameStop tried to get into digital distribution with Impulse.
And on the PC side, I don't know if that's just PC, but yeah, it just doesn't work out too well. I think that they're still viable as far as old games work. I mean, catalog is where it's at. They're not going to be able to make a ton of money new release.
And if everything goes digital, there's not going to be that market anymore. And I think, and I've said this before on the show, is that my incentive to go digital has to be because it's cheaper or there's some other value in it. Because when I buy a physical copy, that's mine. And the way the games work today and what we all fought for Yes, we fought for this because when Microsoft threatened to break this mold, they got dragged through the fucking coals and they still haven't recovered in many ways. We fought for that we would be able to have a game. It's my game. I own it, my physical copy, and I can give it to somebody else and loan it, and much like a DVD or a VHS tape, and they can play it and use it too. You have that equity. I buy the game and I have this, and someday I could sell it back or give it to somebody else just as I sell a CD back, or something like that. So it has to be about to tear me away from that physical copy. If you charge $59.99 for physical and $59.99 for digital, then I better see what's the fucking perk of getting it digitally. Now, for some people, it's, the game releases earlier. They will, trade in the equity to play the game 24 hours sooner, that's not good enough for me, but for some people it is. That's fine.
I got my DLC bonus for Dragon Age.
Yeah, sometimes it's getting more stuff like free DLC when you buy digitally.
And the game was installed and ready to go when I got home.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, I still prefer physical unless digital is way cheaper, like a Steam sale or something like that.
Yeah, and I wish that they had the dynamic that they do, and they probably, I guess, I would say maybe the publishers don't wish that they have this, but I wish they had that dynamic where you could have the PlayStation Network and stuff as a place where you redeem stuff, and then you can buy those codes elsewhere for different prices. Like, say I want a digital copy of Grand Theft Auto 5. Amazon may have it for $39.99 or something one day, and then, Target has it for $59, or, this other place has it for $49. Having those sales in different locations, it'd be pretty nice, but they don't because it's, I don't know, I guess the regulation that they have on there where you can't mark it down one location, not have it marked down another location, I guess. I don't know what the case may be, but I do wish digital games were a little bit cheaper because with Grand Theft Auto, I bought digitally just because I wanted to play it early as possible. Also, I knew I wasn't going to sell it back, so I didn't really want to worry about that. And,
you weigh the pros and cons with every game.
Yeah, and I don't know. And plus, and also because I was getting $15 back, for buying a couple full-price games. I was going to buy Call of Duty digitally because I got it on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 for paying the same price. So essentially got a free game.
Right.
And then I bought Grand Theft Auto, and so after I purchased that, I got $15 back on top of it. So it made it, averaging out the cost, it made it cheaper than buying it at retail. So granted, later on I could have bought those all at retail and then traded in.
I think one other very important thing to consider with the whole physical versus digital is that, with digital, we're still at the mercy of the cable companies and our internet connections at the end of the day. And there's still a lot of that seems very volatile. And we've heard about, Comcast testing these 300 gigabyte bandwidth caps and so forth. I mean, 300 gigabytes ain't going to get you a lot of PlayStation 4 games.
Six Grand Theft Autos.
And that's because you do nothing else the rest of the month, which I bet you play a lot of those games online. You're going to need bandwidth for that too. So my worry is, what if the shit hits the fan with these monopolies in cable internet service? Because in most towns, it's a monopoly. You have one choice. And if they make a decision that's going to really screw you over, digital may no longer be an option. So it's kind of like, I'm going to need that physical copy to exist. So that's another reason why I don't want to see digital necessarily take over, because right now we have an unregulated, I know there's a big push for things to go the other way, and I think this is part of why it's important, but right now we have an unregulated data industry.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also on top of this, you have the other factor, which is, GameStop, you have all these nice retail games and everything, and then granted, sometimes they do sell digital codes, which, don't get me wrong, I don't really see why you would buy a digital code from GameStop unless you're trading in, store credit that you have from trading games towards this code. I don't see a reason why you would purchase, like, say, a season pass for something. Like, I'm going to buy Assassin's Creed. I'm going to buy the season pass, because all you're getting is a fucking code that's printed out on our receipt that you're going to redeem anyways. I don't know why you would pay for that from them and pay tax on top of that. But whatever. But you also have all these indie games, once again. A lot of these indie games that are digital only that GameStop can't sell. Or even Steam games. GameStop can't really sell that. They can only sell Steam cards or, occasional box games that happen to have a Steam code in them or whatever. So that's kind of a good percentage of the market that they're not able to touch. It would be nice if we'd be able to resell some of the games. Oh,
Yeah.
I have a lot of Steam games that I got up to 90% because of all those games I've been buying of unplayed games.
Well, it is interesting to see some of the things that Steam is doing to give more equity to those downloadable games. And you got maybe Steam isn't allowing you to sell those games yet, but with the family share and some of the other things they're doing, they're trying to sweeten the pot a little bit. I mean, family share isn't something I can do right now with a physical game. If I'm not sitting, right near the person, you know what I mean? Like, I can family share across a great distance, which I can't do with a physical game right now, which is funny because that's what Xbox was going to do, but we rejected it.
Well, actually, with iOS, you have family sharing now already built in. There's a family sharing thing for all iOS apps.
Oh, so like if I buy an app, then, if my kid has an iPad, they can get it too?
You add their Apple ID into your family sharing plan. Whatever they buy, it is attached to their Apple ID, but anybody in the family can play it.
Oh, interesting.
And parents can control whether or not their kids can actually make the purchase.
Interesting.
And so you can also hide some of your purchases from each other, but that way family members will have the ability to make use of everything. Well, like say, mom.
So the kids don't need to see that mom and dad have been on Tinder?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at any rate, say that you're playing, some violent game that you don't want the 5-year-old to be poking at.
Yeah.
Then you can hide that and they won't have access to it. But it's actually been existing and working rather smoothly now for the past few months.
Or the subscription to Playboy magazine that they might have,
I
for the
guess.
articles.
Or, bouncing boobs the app.
Ideally, I would like to
Did
see...
Apple approve that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ideally, I would like to see once that PlayStation Now service gets more in the swing of things, where you have like PlayStation 4 games or something that you buy. Like, for example, Dragon Age Inquisition, one of the games I was thinking about purchasing digitally over the weekend. But I kind of stopped myself a bunch of times because, I was like, oh, crap, I'm going to have to download that. And that, I want to play it now, but then I'm not going to be able to actually play it until, tomorrow or something like that because it's going to have to download overnight.
It really didn't take that long to download.
All right, let's move on, though, because we're running a little long. We still got plenty of ground to cover, so I'm going to go to the next story over with Dark Sakura.
Well, back to Ubisoft. It looks like they are learning their lesson with some of this, too, because for The Crew, the online racing game that's going to be coming out, they're basically not giving reviewers any early access. Everyone reviews it after the game is already out. The servers are going to go on at exactly the same time for everybody. There is no embargo, but they are requesting that people put 40 to 50 hours into the game so that they get a, quote, a full experience. And they do have a warning about early reviews to, quote, says, while we fully anticipate that you might see some reviews immediately at launch, largely built around the preview sessions we facilitated during the past months or the limited content of the closed and open betas, they won't be based on optimal conditions or reflect the finished game.
There is something a little concerning there about Ubisoft saying, don't read the early reviews of the game. They're going to be wrong because they haven't experienced it. Where could a red flag possibly be in that line of thinking?
Except if you think about it this way, there are features that change during beta editions and when you get the later ones.
True.
In some cases, have we played... how many of us have been in betas? They're like, oh man, this beta sucks ass.
Yeah, but...
And then the game's been finished and come out and has been decent.
But sure, Warcraft was that for me. I didn't like the beta at all.
Okay, but let's be fair here, okay? The beta for this game, the open beta, was this week. The game comes out on Tuesday. So how much shit can you really change in 2 days? I mean, I don't think that's going to be night and day different, to be honest.
Yeah. I think Final Fantasy XIV's beta only had the one zone, and then the whole thing opened up when the launch came out. So, I mean, I don't know if it's anything like that, but there can be things that dramatically change.
It had other zones a bit further into it, but no one could level up high enough to make use of the zones.
Yeah.
Because remember, I went exploring one day, running past all the aggro stuff, and found Costa del Sol. I was like, oh my god, I found Costa del Sol. Everything's level 35 here. What do I do? But I'm just saying. And then I got stabbed in the face by like the Imperial folks. So,
well, I'll be very curious to see what the reviews look like, because I don't think, reviewers are going to necessarily go negative just because of this whole thing. But it'll be interesting to see, was the game kind of a stinker, and is that why Ubisoft was holding out? I don't know. I missed the beta just because of all the other games I've been talking about. I wanted to check it out, but oops, I missed the chance. Bummer they won't turn that into a free demo or anything like that. Dungeon Buster in chat says, I really hope they stop calling things a beta when it's really that close to release. I can sort of forgive it, because with a game that needs such an online stress test, they need to give it away for free so that a lot of people will hammer the server and they can accurately test the stress. That is kind of needed.
maybe they can call it a gamma.
That is a term we don't use enough in game, is gamma or a zeta. All right, anyway. Let's travel around the world and check out some release dates. I believe things have slowed down dramatically, but I think there's still a few things here and there, right, Loki?
They did have, it has slowed down dramatically as we get into December, which is typically a very dead month. But this week, of course, as we just mentioned, The Crew is coming out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, and Xbox 360 as well. Also on PlayStation 3, Kingdom Hearts 2.5 Remix Limited Edition be coming out.
AKA the last PlayStation 3 game a lot of people plan on buying.
AKA tradable pin. That's
right.
why we ordered it, so
Yeah.
I could put that on my lanyard.
Fair enough.
Also, the disc versions of Terraria on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Then on Friday, Ultimate NES Remix for 3DS, NES Remix Pack for the Nintendo Wii U, and Captain Toad Treasure Tracker on the Wii U. And that's it.
All right, let's travel over to Japan. On the 4th of December in Japan, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, the dubbed edition, comes out there. Guilty Gear XRD Sign in regular and limited edition is out on PlayStation 4, as is Puyo Puyo Tetris, available on the PlayStation 4. I don't know how a crossover between Puyo Puyo and Tetris works.
I think it's like a versus.
It looks interesting. Yeah, it's like a versus. One person plays Tetris while the other plays Puyo Puyo, which, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. A lot of you probably know Puyo Puyo as.
Kirby's Avalanche.
That's right, Kirby's Avalanche. Also available on the PlayStation 4, The Crew and Little Big Planet 3 getting their Japanese releases this week. Xbox One also sees Puyo Puyo Tetris and The Crew this week, also on December 4th. Yes, the Xbox One is out in Japan. On the PlayStation 3, Little Big Planet 3 getting its release, as well as Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, the Guilty Gear game I mentioned before, and Kamen Rider Summon Ride comes out on the PlayStation 3 this week in
Kamen Rider.
Japan. On the Xbox 360, Call of Duty this week in Japan. On the Wii U, Kamen Rider Summon Ride, and Taiko no Tatsujin Controller Pro. I don't know if that is to support an upcoming game or if I missed a Taiko no Tatsujin release, but this is just the controller. It is not the game itself. So maybe,
I wonder if it's like actual Taiko size.
I wonder if there isn't something that's on the marketplace. This looks like it's in a neat little like plastic wood looking stand.
Oh, that is nice.
This is a nice looking little thing. So I wonder where the game is. Maybe I missed when that was released, but it could also be something that's like download. Like, because I could see that it's probably something you could download, and then the Wii U touchpad could be a drum.
Did any of the deluxe Bamani controllers come with the game?
I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Also on the Wii U, there's a lot of stuff coming up on the 6th. A lot of it happens to be accessories, though. But the big one, of course, Smash Brothers for Wii U gets its Japanese release on the 6th. So a lot of people probably hearing about us eating that game up and looking forward to playing it themselves. So you have that to look forward to. There's still more to go. On the Vita this week, Sengoku Musou Chronicle 3 comes out, as well as Diabolic Lovers, Van Dead Carnival in regular and limited edition. Because the Vita gets way more in Japan than it does here. The culture is very, very different.
We get a lot of the Japanese games, and in fact, I was looking kind of at some of the stuff coming out next year, and there's a bunch of Atlas games I hadn't realized that were coming out.
Also of note on the 3DS, Shingeki no Kyojin, Genri Saigo no Tsubasa Chain,
Whoa.
and Sengoku Musou Chronicle 3, Derby Stallion Gold, also on the 3DS.
Wait,
This
what
week-
was the last one?
I just closed it. Derby Stallion?
Oh no, looks like it's an Attack on Titan game.
Yeah,
So that's cool.
that's cool. How about the UK?
Just Call of Duty on like damn near everything, and Never Alone. Kishima. Now this is actually in one of the I forgot the name of it's a particular Eskimo dialect. But it's Kishima Ingichuna, which is called Never Alone, and I've actually it's on my wish list on Steam actually. But it's it looks really pretty, so I want people to buy this game. I want it to do well. It's on PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
All right, that's it?
Yeah.
All right.
I said it was slow, didn't I?
I guess so. I didn't think it was that
No,
slow.
I didn't. Loki did.
Oh, all right, fine. All right, just a couple more stories for you guys, and then the classic game of the week. But first, Loki.
All right, so the Human Rights Campaign has recognized EA for promoting LGBT equality by awarding them with a 100% score in the latest Corporate Equality Index. And it's, I guess, the third year that they've received a perfect score. So, good job, EA. At least you get some things right.
Yeah, it is very interesting how the quote-unquote worst company in America yet does some things so well. And, yeah, I mean, it does seem like any Pride Parade I've been to, EA's had a presence there.
It's equal opportunity forced labor.
Well, they just don't fuck over their employees like they fuck over their consumers, I guess.
They just fuck over all of their employees equally.
That's all any of us want. We all want to be screwed equally.
Everyone needs to have equal access to mandatory overtime and spousal abuse. I'm kidding.
Jokes. Calm down. No, at the end of the day, that is a great thing. I know EA was a sponsor of the first GamerX, and they do a lot with the community and so forth. And let's talk about diversity in Dragon Age Inquisition, because it's pretty, and it's
actually still pretty sad.
Well, it's not shoved in your face either, which I think some people, unfortunately, who are like, why does it matter? Is all this stuff in Dragon Age Inquisition? It's like, well, it's not exactly shoved in your face. Like, it's all just diversity of people you run into.
I still think it's absolutely hilarious. So one of the pairings that happen if you don't romance certain characters.
Yeah.
No
spoilers.
I think it's adorbs.
No spoilers. All right, let's move on. Talk about this before the classic game of the week. Those Smash Brothers GameCube adapters. Did you know they're selling like crazy here? This is a mess. I mean, they're impossible to find, and of course, everybody's jacking up the price on the Amazon resellers.
Nintendo sells something that's impossible to find with artificial shortages because they couldn't anticipate the demand.
Do you think it's artificial? What? Do you think it's artificial shortage? Because I would almost argue that I don't think it's artificial shortage so much as it's. You know, I think they really didn't know that this would sell so crazy.
Well, then they didn't anticipate the demand, so that you would think they would get it right by now, considering that, they seem to misguess that across the board regardless.
Now, I did mention that the game is coming out in Japan, and some people have resorted to importing the Japanese controllers as kind of a workaround. So I thought that was kind of a clever way of doing it. So, All right. Well, let's travel back to a classic time in video game history. Maybe it's something that you could actually play on a GameCube. But I actually, even though the classic game of the week only has to be 10 years old or more, I think this one actually goes a little further back than that. More like 20 or even 25 years old. It's the classic game of the week where Darkstalker's going to walk into the gaming vault and find a game that she thinks, hey, forget all that newfangled shit like your Warcrafts and your Dragon Ages. Play this instead.
Yeah. And I will dedicate this one to one of my favorite video casts, Classic Game Room, because I'm picking Dude's favorite game that he uses for every display and test of controller ever. Truxton! Anyone ever played this?
I definitely have not played this game before.
Truxton came out in Japan as Tatsujin. It came out in 1988. It's a vertical scroller shoot 'em up, and it was by Toaplan, which came out later on the Mega Drive and PC Engine in Japan. It is set in outer space, and you were a spaceship that you get power-ups, go through different planets. You have an 8-way joystick on the arcade version and a shot and bomb button. You've got 5 levels, and they're bosses, but they loop forever and get, of course, more and more difficult as you go on. And this game's got some fucking great music. Rob, would you mind?
Yes, I will turn it up.
Anyway, it's so basically you start off with a power shot as your weapon. You get different icons. You can get S to increase your speed. You get B's for your bombs. In the Japanese one, it's Tatsujin bombs. In the US, it's destroyer bombs. And then you basically start with every bomb that you use. You get the smart bomb, the ones that are dropped near the ship and destroy anything in range, and then you also have other bombs that will damage items further away on the screen. You also get, by the way, every time you start a new life, you get 3 bombs. You also get P's, which are your power-ups. I told Dan that he had a lot of P earlier because he was playing this. You can get other icons up to 10, and the icons will carry over over your lives. If you die, you would actually be able to spend your icons so that you can power up again. They put this into one of their other games called Fire Shark. You also get 1-up or 2-up icons, which will increase the number of lives, of course, that you get. And these are uncovered by shooting certain objects. You get different weapons. You get the red, which is the power shot, so you get red projectiles going forward, which is pretty balanced. Green is the Tatsujin beam, or the Truxton beam, that's green moving lasers, and it's the strongest weapon per projectile, but it doesn't have much spread. And then you have blue, which is the thunder laser, which basically just have blue lightning that goes all over the screen, almost kind of like the lightning attack from Raiden 2, but not quite as effective. It doesn't like loop and latch onto him. And of course, if you get extras of those, once you're fully powered up, you get another 5,000 points. It's really a good game. I mean, in easy mode, it's super easy. But when you get into normal mode, it's actually got a decent amount of challenge to it. And of course, it gets a lot harder in the other difficulties. But it's one of, I would say it's up there as one of the best space shooter games. So again, dedicated to one of my favorite video casts. Thank you, Classic Game Room, for sharing this one with me, because it was a game I did not play when it was new, but I played it as an adult. So thank you.
There you go, as people should do with the Classic Game of the Week. There it is, your Classic Game of the Week, Truxton, which I admit is a game I have not played myself, but it definitely looks like a competent shooter of that era. Very much. All right.
1988.
All right, 1988, yo. All right, there it is, Classic Game of the Week. We've got plenty more Orange Lounge Radio to come. I know we're running long so far, but we still have plenty of show. We have Rapid Fire News, the Fugle Question of the Week, of course, emails, that contest from Jackbox Games we'll get to when we get back, the FUs of the Week, and plenty more when we come back with more of Orange Lounge Radio right after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Orange Lounge Radio, live on this Sunday night, November the 30th, 2014, with the 577th episode of our program. Thanks for tuning in, if you happen to be here live. If you're listening on the podcast or whatever, to get you through the week, in the car, via Stitcher, via the iTunes Store, via TuneIn, whatever it is you use. Thanks for participating. We really appreciate it. And a big thank you to those of you that participated in our contest last week. If you missed it, you missed it because it was only a 1-week deadline to get in there. But we asked for your best drawful for Orange Lounge Radio. And Drawful, of course, is one of the games in the Jackbox Party Pack, which is available on PS3, PS4, and Xbox One. And we all are big fans of what they are doing over at Jackbox Games. And big thanks to them for giving us a code to give away here on the program. And we asked you guys to submit your drawings of Orange Lounge Radio. You only could use MS Paint in the spirit of Drawful. And Dark Sakura, I promised you guys she would come back from her week off and be like, what did you guys do to the mailbox? She filled it up with a bunch of stuff, but I explained to her what's going on, and she picked a winner. And Dark Sakura, would you describe what the winning Orange Lounge Radio artwork looks like here?
It's an orange on a couch with headphones on, thinking about arrows and shit. It's the poop that really won it over for me.
So poop wins, right?
Poop wins.
So congrats.
Because I'm 4 years old. Poop. Poop.
So congratulations.
It is literally a pixel shit.
A good old poop joke won it for Master of the Claw, or MXC, was our big winner there. So check your email if you happen to be listening, Master of the Claw, and check that out. And a big thank you to all you guys that participated. We had a good time going through and looking at all your horrible drawings, but they cracked us up.
MXC is in chat right now.
Oh, is he? Oh, then check your email, because I sent you something.
Yay,
So
MXC, your shit one.
Well, enjoy a non-shitty
I did,
compilation.
however, enjoy the other two quite well.
Mm-hmm.
They were very well done, but if you want to win, you have to have dicks or shit in it.
All right, there it is. Let's move on. We've got some more show to get into here, and of course the Fugle question of the week and your calls at 1-877 Game OLR. But first, some rapid fire news. Loki.
So this is probably good news for those looking to play some more Dark Souls. Dark Souls is coming back as part of the Dark Souls, the Scholar of the First Sin, which will be coming to Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. Now also Xbox One and PlayStation 4. So it's going to be, I guess, an expanded edition of the game. And they're going to have some new balance tweaks, new NPCs, and a new expanded story. Plus, well, if you're on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, also enhanced visuals. And it'll be the first time you can play it on the system. So that's pretty cool. Let's see. Do they have a date for this yet? April 7th, 2015 is when it's expected to come out. So, and that's in North America, of course. And then, of course, since we're just we just started December, or we will be starting December in a little bit here. Let's look at the games with gold that we have coming out as well. So for this month of December, we've got some pretty cool stuff. Let's see, The Raven Legacy of the Master Thief, which is going to be from December 1st through the 15th for Xbox 360. And then the 16th on through the end of the month, SSX, which looked pretty cool. Yeah, I like SSX, so
yeah,
worth checking out. And then for Xbox One, what are we getting for Xbox One? Worms Battlegrounds is going to be the game that you get that month. Okay, cool. And then, let's see, for PlayStation Network, of course, they've already kind of talked a little bit about some of the stuff that you're getting on PlayStation 4. They mentioned, was it Injustice Gods Among Us was going to be the first full PlayStation 4 title, retail disc PlayStation 4 title that is going to be on PlayStation Plus. So that'll be coming, as well as Secret Ponchos. And then on PlayStation 3, they're going to have Deadly Premonition, the Director's Cut, Hitman HD Trilogy. Also, the, I guess, re-release of Hitman 2 and Hitman Contracts. Oh, I'm sorry, that's part of the HD thing. I thought that was coming to the Vita as well. No, for the Vita, I guess they're getting Final Horizon and a shooter called Titan Attacks. So, not bad.
All right.
Yeah.
Free stuff, sort of. Free with an asterisk, because you're paying a monthly fee for
it. It'd be nice to
anyway.
check out Injustice. It'd be nice to have another game.
I already bought Injustice on a sale.
Well, it sucks for you.
Yeah, it sucks for me.
Well, I mean, honestly, who thought that would have been like one of the first titles that they put on that service? I mean,
I would have thought it would have been Knack, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm quite surprised that Knack isn't on there yet, because it's worth nothing at this point. Or even Killzone. Killzone would have been, interesting to see on there.
Well, perhaps one of these titles will be the next one to be given away for free, because there's a Black Friday sale going on PlayStation. If you're listening live, you can probably still get it on this. If you're listening on podcast, you're probably a bit too late. I'm not going to read everything that's on sale, but some of the highlights. Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls Ultimate Edition, only $20 on PlayStation 3, $35 on PlayStation 4, which is a pretty good deal because that game's pretty recent. Borderlands, the pre-sequel on PS3 for $39.99. See, Shadow of Mordor, only $30 on PS3 or PS4. MLB 14 The Show, only $20. And Transistor on PlayStation 4, only $8, although that was a PlayStation Plus title not that long ago.
I think that's the game I bought on Mac.
Oh, it is.
Was Transistor.
It's supposed to be pretty good. I haven't played it myself. But
yeah, I haven't started it, but that's the game I got.
I kept looking at Shadow of Mordor, but I just don't know if I want to play that game. I mean, it looks good. Mm-hmm. but I just don't know. It's one of those, like, I don't know if I really want to play this type of thing.
Right.
You know, because it's like Assassin's Creed. They keep comparing it to Assassin's Creed, and I really don't like Assassin's Creed.
Well, we'll see which one of those titles ends up the next big sale.
And plus, if they're
big
discounting
PlayStation
it that
Plus.
much now, you know that they're going to continue to discount that thing going forward. So this is not going to be the first time that's discounted that low.
Now, it should be noted that Square Enix is also doing a massive sale, but you probably don't ever shop at their online store. If you look at their site directly, that's store.na.square-enix.com. Or if you Google Square Enix store, you'll probably find it. There's a lot of stuff, like 50, 60% off on their store. And I would name them all, but we're talking like over 200 games. But you can get things like newer titles like Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn, I believe was $16 on PlayStation 4. Let me tell you, that's a pretty freaking good deal. I mean, granted, that game has a monthly fee, but for an MMO, that's a really, really good deal. You can also get things like Thief and Tomb Raider. I wanted to say I saw like Final Fantasy 2 on PSP was like $4, something like that. Like they're really trying to unload some of their inventory there. So if you are a Square Enix fan, check it out.
I just want the full 4 thing with the extra chapters. That's the big thing I was
On the PSP?
For. No. I want a PC iteration of that because
It's down to $6.40 from $15.99.
The PSP version, though, right?
No, PC.
Oh,
Yeah, so I'm going to be probably ordering that.
does that have the after years in it?
It just says Final Fantasy 4.
It doesn't have the after years in it.
Yeah.
That's the DS version.
The After Years is the one that I want to play.
After years they never put into 3D. After years is only in the 2D. So, yeah. So just throwing that out there. Anyway, so check that out. Coming up this week, the Game Awards. One of those, this moved really fast type of things. You know, it was just last week we were talking about it was announced and the nominees were out. Now they're coming up. They're on Friday. So I heard that we're going to have one of our listeners there. So I'm hoping to get a man on the street report from the Game Awards. But in the meantime, some of the things that we have to look forward to at the Game Awards. One is that Metal Gear Online is going to be there. That's right. Jeff Keighley tweeted out, Hideo Kojima will join us at the Game Awards to world premiere Metal Gear Online. So that's something you can look forward to at the Game Awards.
But they already had Metal Gear Online.
On the PSP, right?
No, it was part of the PS3 versions of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Oh, that's right. It was like the other game, but they shut down the servers, so it's not there anymore. So I don't know.
So they're bringing the servers back?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's probably a more robust experience than what they have before.
Better be.
Well, we'll find out, won't we, Loki? We'll find out.
I'd rather they have another trailer for No Man's Sky, to be honest, but whatever.
Well, Jeff Keighley is teasing also on Twitter because, he invested a lot into this. This Friday night, we will showcase more than a dozen world premieres at the Game Awards. So Metal Gear Online is one of them. What could the other 11 be?
Metal Gear Online 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9.
Who knows? There could be some big stuff here. We don't know. I mean, some big games got revealed at the Game Awards in the past, like Skyrim was unveiled. When it was the Spike TV Awards or whatever they were called. But the previous iteration.
I know they're not going to do another Elder Scrolls game. It's going to be Fallout next, but
Fallout 4 could be one of the announcements. It seems about the time for that.
So, Elder Scrolls Online never going to come out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One?
I think it got pushed back to April. Didn't we have a story on it a couple months ago? I think it was pushed back.
No one cares. That's the problem, I think.
Yeah, maybe an expansion will be out. Who knows? So, yeah, a dozen world premieres coming for that. And lastly, if you prefer to just have your games free, then one that I've recommended before is a game called Path of Exile, which is a bit of a Diablo clone. It's a very Diablo-esque sort of game. But if you haven't checked it out, Path of Exile just got a content update to 1.3.0. It does a lot of changes with PvP, but there's also some new Challenge League as well, the Torment and the Bloodlines Challenge League. So if you haven't checked out Path of Exile, this is something you might want to check out. There's also an updated passive skill tree, and if you've never seen the skill tree in Path of Exile, good lord, that thing is a mess. I don't know what to do. I'm so overwhelmed when I look at it. Anyway, there it is. Path of Exile is 1.3.0. Dark Sakura, what do you have for us for rapid fire news?
Well, there's a game that I should have mentioned in my classic game that I did not, because I finally did the entire full playthrough of Hatoful Boyfriend. And I'm happy that now everybody else gets to experience the crack and the weird feels and the what the fuckness of it, because it's going to be on PS4 and Vita in early 2015. It is a game where you date pigeons, but it really goes a lot deeper than that. It has this whole alternate world thing going on with it, and a statement by Hatomoa, who is a manga artist who created the game, says she was really, really happy to see it come out on PlayStation. She never thought that it would be out, and all you need is Dove. So there's that one. Also, in other news, if it ever loads, the GameCube controller for there's going to be a Super Smash Brothers edition for the UK, but it's being delayed. There was a report on NeoGAF that they got emails from Amazon UK and Shop2 saying that the GameCube controller Super Smash Brothers edition is being delayed until sometime later next week. So sorry, folks in the UK.
They have to shift more of that inventory here our way.
Yeah, we're being greedy Americans again. Sorry, not sorry. And last but not least, there is an item being removed on December 31st, and that will be Tetris being removed from the eShop. So if you want it, I guess you better get it now. Not really sure. Nintendo hasn't said anything, but I don't know. I kind of think I might be going to get some Tetris.
I mean, it's not like you can't play Tetris one of 50,000 other ways with all the various Tetris games that are out there. But the Game Boy version is really one of the greatest.
Well, I'm not sure. This just says Tetris. It doesn't say it's the Game Boy version.
I think it is the Game Boy version.
It is? Okay, because my favorite, I really do like the NES one better. So
NES one or the Tetris DS was really like one of the best ones they ever did. It was so good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever checked that version out.
The Sega Tetris arcade was pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, the one with the gigantic joystick?
No. It was just a regular arcade iteration.
Oh.
I think it only came out in Japan.
I was going to say, because didn't Atari do the Tetris game here in the arcade like way back when?
There was the big, the huge, humongous controller edition.
Yeah.
But there was also just an arcade iteration that Sega put out.
So much Tetris.
Yeah, that one was really good. It was kind of difficult, but really good.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to the Fugle question of the week.
It's Radio
Every week, we ask our Facebook and our Google Plus communities a question. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/orangeloungeradio and google.com/plus Orange Lounge Radio is where you can find us on social media. You take Facebook and you take Google and you slam those words together, you get Fugle. It's the Fugle question of the week. And this is in line with the story that Jamie read us earlier about The Crew. The press won't be receiving advanced copies of an upcoming Ubisoft game. While it might be easy to peg this on the recent debacle over Assassin's Creed Unity, Ubisoft says that this is due to the necessity of needing a full experience with other players online. What are your thoughts on hearing this? Do you believe more game reviews should be held back so that a game can be fully absorbed on launch? Do you think game companies should hold games back more often, or do you use reviews to determine if you will buy a game in its launch window? Now, we got a lot of good answers tonight, and a lot of them are pretty lengthy, so I'm going to have to be a little picky-choosy tonight, so I apologize. If you do want to see all the answers, though, I encourage you to check our communities. I'm going to start with Google Plus and Brosame, who responds and says, I personally won't buy games without a review unless I have the utmost faith the company will deliver as promised. With Ubi's current trend of poorly optimized or buggy releases, I know I need information to buy anything they release. It's also worth noting Activision and EA regularly put up servers for reviewers to play online with other reviewers before they release games. Why can't Ubisoft do the same? Well, without discounting your point, because I believe you raised some good ones, I do believe Ubisoft came out and said it's not going to be enough people. The press and all that would not be enough. There has to be more. It's got to be more people for the experience that they're going for. That would be also assuming that a lot of people buy the game, though. Just saying. Over on Facebook, let's see. We have Fabrice A. replies and says, holding back a game is to hide a bad game. I read several reviews anyway, unless it's I read several reviews anyway, unless it's a game I know is going to be a good game. Andy R. replied and said, as someone who reviews games as a hobby, I definitely agree that a game review should be held until the game can be absorbed enough. I usually review JRPGs, and because I work full-time outside this hobby, I don't always feel like I have a good handle on the game in the week or the two that I have the game before it comes out. In those cases, I'd rather hold my review than release something that's not helpful to anyone reading it. That said, I do think it's in the best interest of the companies to try and allow reviewers to get reviews out before the game comes out. Obviously, if they can have a good game that's getting good reviews before launch, that helps sales. I feel that a lot of the onus should be on the reviewers to not release half-baked reviews. Sadly, though, most of the big review sites seem to care more about getting their review out first so they can get clicks than about releasing a proper critique. Unfortunately, in these days, where online components make up large portions of games, publishers holding review copies until launch might be the only way to get some of these websites to behave. Let's see. Hitstun replies and says, I no longer trust sites that accept terms from publishers to get review copies of games before launch. I will wait for word of mouth from my friends or from independent media before I drop any cash myself. Reviews ought to be based on the experience I would get if I bought the game, bugs and all, so this is a good thing for me. And lastly, Ursaping Slurpee says, Ubisoft is definitely up to no good. I generally watch YouTube reviews for games I'm not sure about, but some games I'll buy regardless of reviews just because I enjoy the story, etc. Elder Scrolls, Witcher, Psy, Warcraft. Remember how I said I wouldn't be resubbing to WoW? Well, my Orc Shaman is half a level away from 100. I feel your pain. So there you go. It seems like a lot of people are kind of like, there's something shady going on here, and I do use reviews, but we had that very strongly worded one there from Hitstun saying that I will not trust a site that buys into the publisher's reviews. So it does seem like more and more sites are starting to push back, though. I mean, after the whole mess with Assassin's Creed, a couple of the big ones came out and said, we will no longer adhere to embargo dates that are after the launch of the game. And so I guess this was Ubisoft's way of responding, saying, well, then you will not get the game until the game is released. So it's this interesting push and dance that's going on here. We'll see how it affects the sales of the game. I kind of think, I don't know, The Crew is coming out at kind of a bad time. It missed Black Friday. I mean, I realize there's still a lot of shopping days left, but people are so consumed with a bunch of other stuff right now.
If it comes out and it's fine, then I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
If it comes out and it's all broken, then it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big issue with Ubisoft because that level of trust, you've already fucked up a few games in a row that have come out. Now it's like, we can't really trust you with this, and we know that this is because of some sort of issues with the game, and you kind of knew that they were going to be there, and you're trying to stop people from canceling their pre-orders if you know what I mean. And I just have a feeling, even though they're beta testing this stuff, I mean, they beta tested other games before, and it still was a pain in the ass to play that day one. The Crew, thankfully, I don't think is going to be as high demand as say like Destiny or something, so maybe it won't be so bad. But I don't know.
All right. Well, what's that?
People asking about Google.
I read the first response I read was from Google.
Okay.
I did not read all of the responses tonight because a lot of them were lengthy and were running a little long. So I thank everybody for replying, and I encourage everybody to go read all the answers on our Google Plus and our Facebook pages there, facebook.com/orangeloungeradio or google.com/plus Orange Lounge Radio. Blah, blah, blah. I got a little tongue-tied there. So, yeah, some weeks we have time to read them all, but tonight I didn't because some of you guys got really, really, really lengthy. So, all right, let's move on. Let's get into some more news. Loki.
So Sony now is planning on shifting their focus towards PlayStation in regards to their income, because right now they were, I guess, kind of sharing some of that with smartphones, but I don't think their smartphone division's doing that great. They were saying that right now they're expecting to lose 30% of the sales by next spring, and basically the PlayStation division's been up, and they're up by 25%, I guess, as much as $13.6 billion. So maybe, I don't know, it makes sense. I mean, go with what's working. I mean, if you're going to try to do mobile and that mobile market's kind of saturated, then maybe it's focus most of your money towards what's working for you. And that's cool. Maybe we'll see some better stuff out of the PlayStation side because of that. Now that they're focusing more resources, maybe I don't know. Maybe something that has to do with Morpheus when it comes out. I don't know. It can't be a bad thing that they're putting more focus on PlayStation.
You don't forget, you know what else is happening this weekend is that PlayStation experience is happening in
That's
Vegas.
right. This
So,
weekend.
I mean, even though this is traditionally a slower news period, I can't imagine Sony doesn't have at least one big thing they're going to pull out of their hat at the PlayStation experience. You know, there's got to be something they're going to get that crowd really excited about. That, oh yeah, I got to play this. You know, there's going to be something there that's going to have everybody really excited, I think. So we'll see.
I'd be down with a better version of PlayStation All-Stars.
Oh, you think that's worth revisiting?
I think so. I think if they got, I mean, I think the hard part is, memorable characters because, there are a lot of PlayStation franchises, but it's not anything like Nintendo. But I think if you get the gameplay there, then it won't be so bad. Hell, throw some indies in there. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. We'll see. Well, indies made a pretty good showing at E3, so we'll see. I mean, maybe that's just because there wasn't a lot else to show for the rest of this year because the titles on PlayStation have been a little light, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on. This would be a game I bet a lot of you would love to see at the PlayStation experience. Unfortunately, I doubt it, but you never know. Final Fantasy 15. Actually, I don't know how many of the other companies Sony got to buy into this, but considering that this demo is supposed to be, April next year, it would not be far-fetched that they might have something at the PlayStation experience. This is Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15, more and more has been coming out on this game, which, of course, a lot of people have been joking is the Bro Trip Final Fantasy, because that's pretty much all we've seen. But anyway, there is, of course, the promotion where you can get the demo if you pre-order Final Fantasy Type 0 HD, which most Final Fantasy fans will be getting anyway. But also noting that the demo will be 2 hours worth and possibly up to 4 if you are one of those people that explores everything. Like if you're still in the hinterlands in Dragon Age, you'll probably get 4 hours out of
that
this.
right there. That's just like a Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pains right there.
Right? Or the Ground Zeroes or whatever. Yeah.
That's the experience that some companies charge $20 for.
It's Final Fantasy 15 episode Duske. Is that how you say that? Duske? I don't know.
How's it spelled?
Duscae. Duske. Episode Duske. Type 0 launches on March 17th. The demo will come after that, not necessarily at the same time. I thought it was like April or something. So, not far-fetched that you might see something about this at PlayStation Experience, though. But don't forget that this game is also going to be on Xbox One, right?
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 15 is on Xbox One. It's just not going to have the same promotion because I don't believe Type 0 is on Xbox One. So, there you go. All right. Coming soon, but not soon enough. Let's move on with some more stories. Dark Sakura.
Well, get ready to be pissed at Verizon again. I know that we've been touching back and forth on the whole net neutrality issues going on, and there's been talk with the FCC over reclassifying broadband and mobile broadband to common carriers under Title II of the Telecommunications Act. Well, Verizon says that if the FCC doesn't reclassify it, they won't sue. Yeah, everyone who's using Verizon, listen up. Talk to the company that you were using the service of. Send them letters or change your service if they're going to be acting this way. They've already sued the FCC and won once. But if this reclassification goes through, they're not going to have any grounds to stand on, and they're going to try to sue to have it changed back to what it is now so that they can keep gouging their prices and form as close to legal a monopoly with other companies as they can. Or more of a trust. So keep your eyes on them.
And remember what I talked about earlier, the whole fact that we're buying all these digital games, yet, the service that's really delivering that to us is unregulated. So we'll see. I think it's still risky until we have some resolution on this. So, I think a big rude awakening is going to come in for some of these companies in the next couple of years, though. We'll see. Meanwhile, Loki.
All right. So I'm pretty sure this is not legit, but there's been some videos going around and pictures showing that an amiibo figure is being used to open the Moscow metro gates. using the near field communication. My guess, since the video is not playing for me, is that either somebody put the actual NFC chip from one of those cards from the Metro in the Amiibo, which I've heard people doing similar things with other types of things. Like they put the card in there just to look fancy. But I don't think it's legit that an Amiibo figure is actually opening those gates.
That'd be hilarious if it was, though. Not that I would encourage the stealing of free rides, but it'd just be really funny if the systems were so similar, but I just can't imagine that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I'd be very curious, though. Like, I'm surprised nobody's hacked one of those on a PC yet, or has that just happened and we just are not hearing about it? That somebody's... Because they have to have those readers for PC, right? So somebody's reading one of those figures on a PC to
You
see
don't
what
even
the data
need a
looks
PC
like.
to read those. You can read them with a cell phone. My cell phone can read near-field communication stuff.
Well, that's right. So could now with the fancy-dancy 6 Plus, I think it can do that too, because it's how Apple Pay works, right? So my phone could read it.
So
but
you
then
can
what's
read
it-
them, but you can't. It's hard to
Write to them.
To write to them, I think, is what the problem is. And you also, I don't know if they have it encrypted or how exactly that works. And I can't imagine the amount of data that's on there is very big, but it's probably just like stats. I don't know. It'd be kind of weird. I don't know what exactly they store on there.
Yeah, I'd be very curious what that looks like. You might be able to, if you could get in there, you might be able to figure out what else they're going to use it for in the future. Although they also probably use some type of proprietary compression that, I mean, even if you could pull the data, that doesn't mean you could decompress it. I would think, if I were Nintendo, that's how I'd try to keep it safe, is that I would have compressed data on those things that decompresses when it comes over to the Wii U. Which would be another reason why I don't think the subway trick is really, you buy this figure and you get free subway rides. I think you're right. It's somebody replaced the chip or what have you.
Well, because imagine if they figured out how to do that, just devil's advocate here. Imagine they figured out how the Amiibos work. Someone puts a smartphone app or whatever that, look, your phone's Amiibo now. Boop. That's an Amiibo, and it's any Amiibo that I want, and I can store all the things, or I can mod my stats, or all sorts of exploits you could do with that.
SG100 Matt in our chat room at live.vognetwork.com says, my girlfriend has her Boston Metro Pass as a ring. She got it from a Kickstarter, and it's pretty useful. So, yeah, some people put these chips in all sorts of things. Wouldn't even think to put that in jewelry. That's so crazy. Oh, my gosh. I think they sell also now, though, those like Life Alert bracelets, do something like that, where now instead of, remember the whole Life Alert thing?
They actually will have a programmable thing using the Bluetooth coming from a smartphone. Yeah,
like some of them are like USB devices now that could have like some of your medical records on it if need be, or just all the information. So
yeah, I've actually, I use the same function on my iPhone, but yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So interesting. All right. And SJ100 Matt linking to the ring, which apparently is part of the mbtagifts.com website. I didn't even know that was the thing.
That's pretty cool looking.
Yeah. That's kind of
the
neat.
Sesame ring. That's great.
The wearable Charlie card. Wow. I love how this guy in this is looking like a Power Ranger when he's using I bet Shane would like that. There's like a Power Ranger there and make that picture with a fist. Anyway.
Yeah, and to kind of go back on them hacking that, apparently there was a guy that actually did that with Skylanders and got cease and desisted pretty fast.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, come on though. It'll show up somewhere else.
So the trick, and this is goes for anybody that's wanting to do this out there, you don't talk about it until you have it working, you upload it to the internet, you get your cease and desist, and too bad it's on the internet.
Too bad it's already on the internet, right? You get it on some video site or host it in another country.
Yeah, don't talk about it until you're done.
Yep.
That's how you do it. That can also go for anybody that's making a fan game or anything, or doing translations or something that one of those companies might sue you because you're using their properties, and just don't say anything until it's done.
Well, we were talking about what could possibly be revealed at the PlayStation Experience. Well, we don't know maybe something that soon, but we do know something that's supposed to be coming at E3 next year as far as PlayStation is concerned. It's coming from Level 5. This is the studio that made Ni no Kuni. They also made Yokai Watch. And you may have heard of White Knight Chronicles, which was, I think that game was probably a little bigger in Japan, but it was a pretty neat game. White Knight Chronicles 1 and 2 were released here in the States, and they were almost a little too complicated. They had a lot of online stuff. It felt a little bit MMO-ish. But there was a White Knight Chronicles live stream that happened recently, and the president of Level 5, Akihiro Hino, said that they have been working on a PlayStation 4 title, and it will be unveiled at E3. He said he wants to create a game that exceeds the White Knight Chronicles titles, developed, and White Knight Chronicles, of course, was developed in collaboration with Sony Computer Entertainment Japan. If you're a PlayStation Plus member in Japan, you can get White Knight Chronicles 2 for free. Actually, it's one of their PlayStation Plus titles right now. There was also a White Knight Chronicles PSP prequel developed by Matrix, who made Final Fantasy III on the Nintendo DS. So we don't know what they're making, but this makes it sound like it could be another epic RPG of sorts. Hopefully the demo won't suck.
Ikuma JP is in chat just going, no, nope.
Oh, he really wasn't a fan of that, though, if I remember right.
Yeah, but he likes Yokai Watch, which I want.
There you go. All right, so we'll see what comes of that. Akuma JP says White Knight Chronicles not big. Well, it wasn't really big here either, and somehow it got a sequel, so I assumed it had to be big somewhere. Is it big in Europe? I don't know. It was one of the sequels that kind of surprised. Maybe it was because Sony was invested in it. I don't know. I just remember the sequel to White Knight Chronicles had the original in it because you had to play the first. I mean, you could start the second game, but it was way harder to start the second game at the base level they gave you than to level a character through the original game. So, interesting. All right, let's go to the mailbag. Every week you guys email us. Participate at orangeloungeradio.com is the place to send those emails. And Dark Sakura will dive into the mailbag and pull out the emails she believes are worth reading tonight. Gross.
Ew.
All right, Dark Sakura. Read some emails.
All right, words. All right, first one is Skeezy's question. What's up, Orange Lounge? Sorry I haven't emailed in a while. I've been really busy working. Anyway, my question is pretty simple. In Mario Party, which character do you always seem to pick and why? LOL. Hope you guys are doing well. Have a happy Thanksgiving, EA Skeezy. I usually get stuck with Daisy, which I'll either use her or Waluigi, just because Waluigi is kind of linky and weird. You guys?
Sorry, quickly, what was the question again?
Who do you get stuck using in Mario Party and why?
I always elect to use Peach because Peach is the winner. If I can't play Peach, I stomp and throw a fit. Like there's no other character that I'll play.
Do you stomp your little foot and pout?
I do. You've played Mario Party with me.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Loki?
Probably just like the same characters I normally pick in Mario Kart, to be honest. So probably like Yoshi. I don't know.
There you go.
All right. Next email. Hey, OLR crew, AZHP here. I just wanted to give you guys a brief update on the situation with Galaxies, the educational game that you guys reported on having partnered with the New York Academy of Sciences to bring wholesome education to children.
Oh, no. I can only imagine what this is going to be.
Apparently, half of the team has been let go, reducing their head count from about 15 employees to 7. This includes the company's creative director, who co-founded the studio along with the CEO and was, from what my roommate tells me, the only person who was actually able to keep the project together and keep this tyrannical CEO in check. Now that they are gone, they're down to only one programmer, and no one is there to make sure the CEO doesn't verbally beat everyone in the company into a figurative pulp. It seems that most of the remaining team is seeking other employment, and prospects for the game ever releasing, much less being at a high enough quality to teach children science, are bleak. I know that most of the listeners have probably already forgotten about the company, but since you guys initially reported on it with high hopes and I chimed in with my perspective on the matter a few months ago, I figured I would close the loop and assure you guys that Galaxies will undoubtedly be a miserable failure. Yours truly, AZHP. P.S. I'm a few episodes late, but here's a tribute to OLR for episode 575. Wasn't that 573? Oh, 575.
The haiku
episode.
Yeah.
Rob, Jamie, Loki, the only show where every gamer has a voice.
There you go. You're right. I'd kind of forgotten about this game, and mostly because in your last email you indicated it was probably going to be a stinker, and now it just sounds like it's really like it may not even make it out the door. Unfortunate for some of those people working on the game, but it really goes to show that these managers a lot of times don't know what they're doing, because it sounds like a lot of this, not so there was one guy who kept the CEO in check, right? But these guys way high up, like the CEO,
the creative director,
don't Yeah, so the creative director probably knew what he was doing, but the CEO unfortunately didn't.
Okay. Last email.
Hot Mess sounds like Hot Mess the game.
I have to read you the subject first. Huh?
Wait, sorry, just one other quick thought on that last email. Whoever you know that's involved with that whole thing should like at least write a book or something, like at least a manifesto.
At least a blog post.
Yeah, at least an angry blog post or something.
Do the thing. Are you having issues with explosive projectile diarrhea? Join the support group today. Lols.
What? That's
Yeah.
an email we got, really?
That's an email. Hi, gang.
And you read it? Oh, there's more. Oh, okay.
Now I have to burp, thank you.
Well, at least you don't have to projectile whatever that thing is.
Excuse me. What? Explosive projectile diarrhea?
Yeah.
That would be a messy support group. Hi, gang. It's that time of year again where people watch a ton of football, yuck, stuff their faces with food like no tomorrow, followed by shopping. That being said, that brings up my topic for this email. What geek-centric stuff did you three buy within the past few days, be it gadgets, games, music, etc., either in a brick-and-mortar store or online? Personally speaking, I did all of my shopping online on Wednesday. I had spent a personal record-breaking $90 on Steam's fall sale, bought 17 items, and spent $30 on iTunes, which went toward the Medal of Honor Frontline soundtrack, the bulk of Sleepy Hollow Season 2, Crazy Chocobo from the Final Fantasy 13-2 OST, and the Halo Suite from Halo CE OST. This email is brought to you by Crazy Chocobo, the greatest song ever, despite what Act Deft would say. That's
Trying to start
Raginator,
a
by
fight.
the way.
What, Loki?
I was gonna say it's going to projectile explosive diarrhea or whatever.
Oh my god.
That'd be a great subtitle for the sequel to Pixel Shits. Pixel Shits 2, projectile explosive diarrhea or explosive projectile
That'll be
diarrhea.
the 8-bit edition.
I love it.
I didn't really buy much of anything. I did buy games for other people. Nothing really for myself. I bought a couple of things, but mostly I ended up finding an M-Flow album on iTunes that I didn't own, and I bought that.
I bought
I pre-ordered Greg Proops's book, The Smartest Book in the World.
I didn't realize he was doing a book. He was just here in Sacramento. We missed him.
Yeah.
Sad.
But he took a picture with that cat, the local celebrity cat.
Oh, really?
That I forgot the name. Norm.
Yeah.
Norm, the big fat cat, who put Shermie to shame.
How funny.
That was a funny picture. It was on Facebook.
Honestly, the only thing that I ended up buying was the Warlords of Draenor expansion. Isn't that enough?
Because it's being expected. Addict.
And the Sega Humble Bundle. I guess I did buy that in the past couple days. But no,
I mean, when you get down to the fact that you spent probably about like less than $5 on like how many games that's less than lunch. So I mean that doesn't.
I'm still trying to pay off my credit card from all the other tech shit I've bought throughout the year. Like now it's just not a good time, So that's what I got. I got to pay off the credit card before I can think about any other big tech geeky purchases, such as the Xbox One that I want. I was tempted.
I'm getting my present tomorrow.
Lucky.
My extreme wonderful present that I can't really tell many people about because it might tell people where I
Then
work.
why would you say it now?
Just because I'm super excited about it and I wish I could.
All right.
But it's going to be so awesome.
Tease of a teaser. All right, any other emails?
No.
All right, then that means it's time to get into the FUs of the week.
You know something?
You're interrupting the music.
If you try to just pronounce FUs like it's just spelled, it would be fuse. Which means we have a short one.
Absolutely. So what is your fuse of the week?
Fuck you to Mercy Medical in Daphne, Alabama. I don't know, without going too much into detail on this, it's where my grandma was being kept. And apparently she has been very much neglected there. And so if I could teleport there and punch every single one of you that works there in the face, I would do it. But since I cannot, I'm encouraging my mother to sue the ever-living shit out of you. Just let me know. Yeah, so the state that my grandmom is in right now, I put directly blame on them. So fuck you. Fuck you a lot. And it's really difficult. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Loki?
Fuck you to my cat for deciding to vomit on all the things that we enjoy. I understand cats, have hairballs and they spit up and stuff like that, but she always picks, like, shit that's really annoying. Like, for example, my son's remote that he chews on is in the middle of the floor, and she fucking walked over to it to vomit on it, and so she did that. Or, like, for example, our Christmas tree, which is in the garage, in a box. She hopped up on the box to vomit in the box. And now, today, we had, like, an Afghan on the couch, that we've been using as blanket, and she's been actually laying in it, and she fucking threw up in that. I'm like, what is your problem, cat? Seriously. Throw up on the floor so I can clean it up there instead of, on things that we use. That's it.
My FU of the week goes to a recent bout of Twitter drama that I'm seeing unfolding tonight. Now, look, I don't watch The Walking Dead, but I respect that some people out there watch their shows and they don't want to get spoiled on their shows. So some of y'all need to check your East Coast privilege. You need to check your East Coast privilege. That's right, I'm looking at you, New York City and Boston OL Army members. Not that I think you ever would spoil TV shows here in the chat or whatever, but seriously, if you're going to post spoilers on Twitter and Facebook, not cool. And don't fucking tell your West Coast friends where you shouldn't be on Facebook and Twitter. No, you shouldn't be on Facebook and Twitter posting that stuff. Rudities. There should be like a 24-hour period at least on spoilers. It's fine if you want to post like OMG or I can't believe it or WTF, BBQ, LOL, but I'm just saying, like, I could tell you what happened on The Walking Dead tonight. I don't even watch the fucking show. So some of y'all need to stop. You're ruining it. All right, that's it. Yeah, and some people saying the Walking Dead Facebook page gave it away. That was really stupid. I hope they get raked over the coals for that one. That was not cool. All right, let's move on. A few more stories for you guys. Then we'll open up the Skype line for some calls at 1-877-GAME-OLR or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio, all one word. Your calls in just a minute here after a couple more stories. Loki.
So the head of Xbox Japan, Takashi Sensui, has resigned, and he basically will stay with Microsoft, but he's going to be working at the U.S. headquarters instead. And, of course, this doesn't help the fact that the Xbox One hasn't really been selling that well in Japan. Not much of a surprise. They're saying that they've only sold 38,461 units since September. And I guess the vast majority of the units were sold the first 4 days, but it hasn't really picked up since then. I haven't really been doing much over there anyways. As far as like promoting, I don't think any of the really exclusive games that they've been kind of showcasing for it have come out yet. So I guess now they're saying that the Xbox Japan lead is now going to Yoshinami Takahashi, who I guess has been there for who joined the company in July and's been there previously before that at 24 years at Sony. So, hey, you know what? He's been at Sony. He knows how to sell consoles, in that territory. Maybe it'll help, but I'm not expecting miracles.
Akuma JP in our chat room saying, too bad. He's a very, very smart man. Unfortunately, he could be the smartest guy in the world, but it's if the Xbox One isn't selling, then that's going to be an issue.
Yeah, just because
I doubt it's just this one dude's fault.
No,
you know
obviously not. No,
it's kind of a fall guy.
It's not one person's fault that it's not selling. I don't think there's a lot of factors that go to that, and the fact that he's going to the U.S. side of it, maybe can be better used elsewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they released the system way late there, and they didn't really have anything Japanese exclusive out there. They were kind of relying more on the fact that it's kind of the reverse thing for what happens here. Like, there's a lot of games we go, ooh, we want to import that from Japan because that looks awesome. Well, there's a few things that there are some Japanese gamers that want to import stuff from here in the U.S. because we've got things like Halo and Call of Duty and stuff. But I don't think it's a big enough crowd to carry a whole system. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah. And I would bet the crowd that I just talked about with that is much smaller than the ones here that want to import from Japan. So, anyway, moving on into one more story for you guys tonight, and this has a lot of people talking on social media and so forth. It's not spoilers, though, don't worry. And this has to be Nintendo essentially commenting in an interview with GameSpot that Toad and Toadette don't have set sexes or genders. Just sit on that for a minute. Toad and Toadette may not actually be gendered characters the way you think they are.
If they are mushroom people, then that would make sense.
Right?
Because mushrooms reproduce by spores.
Quote, this is maybe a little bit of a strange story, but we never really went out of our way to decide on the sex of these characters, even though they have somewhat gendered appearances. But I think what I can say is that Toadette and Toad are not siblings. Perhaps it would be more accurate to say that they are adventure pals, and that's certainly true here in Captain Toad. So, you know, I think, yeah, a mushroom is a plant, and... Well, in a way, I'm oversimplifying things, but a mushroom is a plant, and you know, not everything necessarily has to, you know, have. It's a plant. I don't know. I think some people think way too much about this stuff, but at the same time, I do understand, and I've known people, you know, on the internet and from the years that I've done Rocky Horror Picture Show and some of the other conventions I've gone to in the past. I understand that some people feel like they don't fit in on the gender spectrum on one side or the other. So that's where you get, you know, things that they call, you know, Jamie, you might have to help me out here with some of the terms, because I've heard genderqueer as one of those self-identifying or...
I've seen bigendered,
yeah,
agendered.
Agendered. That's the other one I was trying to think of. So there's certainly those folks. So I think... It's kind of nice. Representation is always nice. It's always nice to know you're not alone. And that goes for anybody who's in any sort of minority, right? And that's why there's been calls for more diversity in video games, because there's so many diverse people that enjoy video games. So I think if you are one of these folks, it's maybe nice to hear that, you know, there's characters out there where gender is not really an issue. I think just in this case, though, I think Nintendo's kind of saying, you know... If you're sitting there thinking about how does Toad reproduce, maybe you really don't need to be worrying about that right now. It's
Mushrooms reproduce by spores.
That's right.
And typically when you see a mushroom cap, it's actually part of a much larger system of a single organism. Just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Just saying. So.
Pay attention in biology.
There you go. I'm looking at our chat room over at live.vognetwork.com. SSG100 Matt in chat saying, "Isn't Birdo a guy?" That was a whole nother thing that Nintendo kind of got into, and the whole thing ended up being, wasn't it like a mistranslation or something like that?
Originally, but now I think they've kind of gone with it. But hey, Poison's a guy.
Yeah, and
Poison is technically not transgendered, but is transvestite.
And but there is a transgendered character for sure in the new Dragon Age as well, because Jennifer Hale voices him, and it's a pretty cool story if you read it. I mean, I know you're probably trying to avoid spoilers, but they get into it a little bit and explain it a little bit.
I don't know,
actually,
most of the Solus stuff has already been spoiled for me, so
I
spoiled myself on the Iron Bull stuff just because it's too weird.
Ragenator in chat says, Sky, technically mushrooms aren't plants. They're fungi. Plants have chlorophyll. Mushrooms don't. You know what? I said I was oversimplifying things, so sit down, please. So there you go.
Rob's a fun guy, too.
Act Deft in chat saying, I think adventure pals means other stuff. You're thinking of like, are Toad and Toadette friends with benefits? I think you're thinking a little hard on... I think you're thinking way too into this.
Yeah, they sit in a closet and release their spores together. Ooh, it's shiny.
I don't care what gender or whatever Toadette is. I still think Toadette is not a character I enjoy seeing in Nintendo games. Just saying. Double Dash ruined Toadette forever for me. Just saying. All right. Let's move on. We're going to get to the Skype line at 1-877-GAME-OLR. Our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. If you'd like to give us a call and be on the show, that would be awesome sauce. We'd love to have you. If you have more comments on anything we've talked about tonight or something maybe we didn't get into, again, that's 1-877-GAME-OLR, or our username on Skype is Orange Lounge Radio, all one word. While we wait for some calls to come in, I'm going to check
I'm trying to find the blue shell haiku.
I'm going to check on any... Was it something like "fuck you, Blue Shell"? I will fucking wreck you. Fuck you, or something like that.
Yeah, something
Silly.
like that.
All right,
But
Loki.
but it was totally perfect.
Any last minute stories, Loki?
Yeah, if you're into nostalgia and you happen to also like looking at code, the complete source code for Doom on the 3DO has been released. And you can actually check it out now at github.com/old-school, and that's spelled really weird. So OLDE-SKUUL and /Doom 3DO. So pretty cool. And you can check it out. I guess it's, the C source code there. So
That is kind of rad. I even though I don't really understand source code, all like what all goes into it, I think sometimes that kind of stuff can be really fun to read about.
I found it.
And try to look into. Did you?
Yes, a haiku about Mario Kart.
Uh-huh.
Are you kidding me? Who the fuck threw that blue shell? I will fuck you up.
There it is. Perfect. All right, again, it's 1-877-GAME-OLR or a username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. I thought I saw a call come in, but I missed it while Loki was talking, so
sorry.
give you another chance there. No, that's fine. You have a right to do your thing. Do you have any other stories while we wait for the phone to light up again?
No, but I know that there's that Call of Duty Online that's in China, and so I'm actually going to check out, see if I can play that this weekend or next week because it looks pretty cool. It's basically like the modern Call of Duty stuff in the old Call of Duty Modern Warfare maps, which is basically what I want to play. It's new Call of Duty on those awesome maps. So
there you go.
I want to check that out.
All right, let's go to the phones because it's lighting up. Hi, you're on Orange Lounge Radio. Who's this?
Pal here.
Hey, pal. How you doing?
Pretty good. Packing. So, but everything okay.
What's that?
Packing. I'm moving in a month or
Oh,
so,
right.
so I'm just packing and
Pack the
everything,
video
but
games
everything okay.
last. Pack the video games last. You'll need something to entertain yourself.
Yep.
What's up?
I was calling to recommend a Vita game that I bought recently.
Since early in the show we were talking about the Vita settlement, and we were kind of talking about it doesn't seem like there's a lot on the Vita right now to make it worth it, but you think there's something that is worth checking out. Tell us about it.
I don't think it's amazing, but I'm really enjoying it. It's called a Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1. Try to say 3 times faster.
I've heard of this. Okay.
I'm enjoying it more than I expect. It's basically JRPG with a lot of anime looking, graphics. But I kind of really enjoying it. It's kind of like it's self-aware. So I'm not too sure that some people might like it, some people might not. But it's basically 4 goddesses who represent each of the consoles in the 90s. So one is supposed to be PlayStation, Sega, Nintendo, and Microsoft.
Really?
And they're literally fighting a war that is called Console Wars. And they're fighting for such a long time that they don't remember what they're fighting for. So it's really silly and absurd. But at the same time, the fighting system is pretty interesting. Since in some point you can modify your own dungeons, and even you kind of create your own quest if you want to. So it's extremely self-aware. If you like anime, you might like it. But I think it's kind of something nice to have on the go. So it's around 10 minutes you can finish a quest. So it's pretty fast. There is some text. It takes like 2 minutes between quests, so it's not that huge dialogue.
I've heard of this game before. I just didn't know a lot about it. I knew it was a JRPG, but that sounds really funny how like it's all the different games, or I'm assuming it's not so in your face, but it's very subtly these different consoles involved in the console wars. That sounds kind of awesome.
Two important things regarding the game. One is if people want to check it out, be extremely aware of the title. Be sure you get one that says Hyperdimension Neptunia, the one that says at the end Rebirth 1, because that's the remake done for the Vita, and it's much better than the previous version.
Okay, good to
so
know.
Be sure you don't buy the previous one by accident. Because I even see big main websites using the wrong captures for the review. They have the wrong pictures, they have the wrong. It was pretty awkward.
Shame. They should know better.
And the second thing, just to finish, there is some dialogue. There's a bit sexualized, and there is some soft erotic moments. But if you're the kind of person that gets really turned on by that, be aware there is some, dialogue that is, even though it looks kind of magical girl type of thing, it's definitely not for kids.
I see. You broke up a little bit there, but I think I caught mostly what you were saying, that some of the dialogue is a little salty if you're not necessarily into that. Looking at our chat room, some comments here. ActDef saying, I heard that Netunia is one of the games that is actually good for the Vita, but it can be hit or miss from what I've read. Maybe that depends on the version, ActDeft. Maybe not everybody's looking at the right version. Dark Tetsuya asking, didn't Kenji Inafune have a cameo in one of those games?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's cool.
And during this week was on sale. It's on sale for $30 in the store in US and in other regions. Sorry.
Is it? So, I might have to check this out because my Vita needs a little love. I don't even know if it's charged right now.
All right. So that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for the recommendation. It's good to know a little more about that game and something that we should be checking out on our Vitas. Thanks, pal.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
All right. Take care. Thanks for calling. All right. And just make sure you get the right one there. The one that has that subtitle at the end there. Very important. Big difference. Big difference. 1-877-GAME-OLR or a username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. Hey, if you think there's a game that's not getting enough attention out there, like Pow just, kind of said, or that people are getting it straight up wrong, go ahead and give us a call and clear the air. Or any of the other news items we talked about tonight. 1-877-GAME-OLR or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. I am trying to bring up the Twitters real quick here because I thought I saw a few tweets come in. Again, we try to get to some of your questions at twitter.com/OLR. Sometimes I lose things in between the other stuff that gets tweeted to us and retweeted and so forth. But I do see a tweet from Sutur that says, anybody at OLR into the Harvest Moon games? I've only played the handheld ones, though. I just ordered Harvest Moon A New Beginning for the 3DS. In all honesty, no. I tried playing one of them because somebody told me it was very similar to Animal Crossing. I think it was on the GameCube. I couldn't really get into it at all, no.
The milking the cows, the tending to the fields. Mm-hmm. It's like Farmville, pre-Farmville.
Yeah. But I understand. I don't want to make it sound, and it's horrible. No, I get why some people are into it, but it just wasn't something that really grabbed me. It's very impressive that it has stayed going so long as it has. So there you go. Flacco Jones responding to last week's Classic Game of the Week. Darsakra, you weren't here. Did you see what I picked for last week?
I did, and then I forgot.
Well, Flacco says, Ghostbusters is one of my favorite Commodore 64 games.
Of course.
Can't wait to
Commodore
hear this episode.
64.
Well, to be fair, though, Ghostbusters had a port on the Sega Master System. So one could say I was trying to pull a Jamie last week. No, I had to show a little love to the Commodore 64. All right, we do have another call coming in, so let's get to it. Hi, you're on Orange Lounge Radio. Who's this?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Kaijudo.
Hey, Kaijudo, what's on your mind, buddy?
And I just want to comment real quick on the story you mentioned earlier about GameStop complaining about the digital versus the physical.
Yes, I think there's a lot of strong opinions on this. What's up?
I don't necessarily think that there's actually a problem with the digital versus the physical. I think people are still buying physical. I'm one of them. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times people are buying off of Amazon and other places. I don't think it necessarily has to deal with the price. It's just the availability. I love GameStop, but one of the things I noticed with them, I'm a person that loves to buy my games new. I don't subscribe to their their used game stuff, mm-hmm. and they don't ever restock stuff. Like they'll get like a not any of the big games, not like Grand Theft Auto or any of the NBA games or anything like that. I mean, they always restock those, but any of the smaller games, they never restock them. Like they get them that first week.
Right.
Sell them all out, and then they don't restock them. Like, if they really want to make sales, I think they need to look more into new games and restock. And maybe people wouldn't be going to Amazon, because half the time, the main reason I like going to Amazon is because usually they don't have the game that I'm looking for. So I have to go on Amazon to find that game physically and buy it.
Yeah, Kaishudo, I think you just hit the nail on the head. A big part of the reason why I personally stopped going to GameStop, like I haven't gone into one in a while. And a big part of the reason is that I remember going into a GameStop, and I don't remember what the game was, but it was something that just came out on release day. And I went to the GameStop, and I asked for the game that had just come out that day, and they were like, well, did you pre-order it? And I'm like, no. And the guy kind of like shamed me a little bit, like, well, it's a popular game, so you should always pre-order games, and we don't have any for people that didn't pre-order it. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So I walked to the Target in the exact same shopping center, and they had a bountiful amount of copies of the game. And that's when I said, you know what? Fuck it. I don't need to go into a store and fucking get a lecture about not buying into this whole pre-order bullshit that I know is just a profiteering scheme for you guys.
That was the
Kiss my
same
butt.
with a PSP, I think, where they said, good, like it was at the launch of the PSP. They're all, good luck finding it anywhere. It's sold out everywhere. Went to Best Buy. They had like a whole bunch of them just sitting there. I'm like, okay, I'll just get it here.
Yep. And this is all over because I experienced the same thing. A lot of games that I go looking for, like I remember just recently I went to get Pokemon Black 2, Black 2 and White 2, and GameStop didn't have it. The guy told me, it's a really old game. He hasn't seen it in a while. I went right over to Target, got both of them. It's just like,
and
you
then,
stocked your shit, man. That's all you got to do.
What did that just instill in me for the future? I can either go to GameStop and get a lecture, or I can go to Target and get my game and no questions asked, because it's one of those cases where I actually kind of prefer that the people selling me the game at Target aren't game enthusiasts.
Yeah. Yeah. I got into a big debate one time about all that. A lot of people were saying that when it comes to GameStop, that they prefer, people should, know about gaming and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, all they need to know is the price. All they need to tell me is the price and if they have it in stock.
Yeah.
I can do all my research online. I don't need a video game expert to work in the store. I know people got to make money. Not everybody has time to learn about video games. They just got to make that quick dollar. So that's all they need to know. They just need to know what's in their store.
And I don't necessarily, and to make it clear, because I know we have a lot of people who listen to the show who do work at GameStop, and I just want to remind you guys, like, my problem isn't necessarily with the frontline workers, although there's always going to be a few bad apples in every barrel, and there's a few at every company. But I think a lot of times that attitude that I got, because you just said you got that same attitude, and you live in a completely different part of the country than I do, that clearly then comes from the top down. That's an attitude that's passed on in the corporate environment, and that's not something I necessarily fault the people on the front lines. The reality is, though, again, that's not going to convince me to come back into the store when I can get the game without a lecture somewhere else.
Yeah, but to that guy's defense, like he wasn't lecturing me. He actually sounded upset by it. He was just saying that, it's an old game, hasn't been around, but it wasn't like, see, you should have got it earlier. It wasn't like that. I never got any of that type of treatment, but I know what you're talking about. But
wish I could say the same. Yeah,
still love GameStop, still support them. I think that they're a major reason why games were selling like hotcakes back in the mid 2000s. So I credit them for a lot of where gaming is now. I don't agree with that guy you're talking about, the guy who said we're in the golden age. We're not in the golden age. Definitely not in the golden. I don't know what he's talking about, but
why not? Yes. Quickly, why not?
Just for the simple fact, it's like, we have the same games being reproduced. Not a lot of like new games. A lot of things are sequels. Really, what I think is the place that's experiencing the golden age is probably the indie game scene. Like, I see the whole indie game scene the same way that I see. Remember back in the mid 90s when Hollywood went indie and all those indie movies were picking up Oscars and all that type of stuff. We're in that type of situation. I don't see AAA doing really well or any of that type of stuff. I think all that stuff is going downhill. But as far as the indie scene, we're getting a lot of stuff indie, and of course that also feeds into the digital thing, because a lot of these indie games, they don't make CDs or anything. So that's another reason why people may not be going into their GameStop, because they have to buy these games digitally online, because that's the only way they can get it.
That's a very interesting comparison with the film industry, because I know we've kind of addressed this before, but movies had to go through similar growing pains when it became easier for anybody to shoot their own movie, when camcorders became more and more popular, and that was probably about the time was the mid 90s when anybody could shoot something on VHS, and we got the Blair Witch Project out of that, which whether you loved or hated that movie, it was one of the biggest independent smashes of all time, and that was literally people running around in the forest at night on their camcorders. So, very good point. All right. Take care, my friend.
All
right. Bye-bye. 1-877-GAME-OLR, or our username on Skype, Orange Lounge Radio. I can probably squeeze in about one more call if somebody wants to get through here pretty quick. Any other comments from here in studio or things to bring up real quick? I think I got all the tweets. The game was Ghostbusters that we were talking about.
Not anything positive.
Uh-oh.
I'm probably going to shut down the Minecraft server. No one's touched it in months. So,
well, I understand. Although I did spend all that time building that mine, but that's all right. I understand. I didn't touch it since.
No, I looked at the logs over the last few months, and there's been no one on it. So,
bye-bye,
as far
my
as I can
Normandy.
tell. So
we'll just have to move to PlayStation 4 or something. Anyway, we do have another call coming in, so let's get to it. Hi, on Orange Lounge Radio. Who's this?
Hey, it's Dave. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Dave? How you doing?
Not much. Just called in to ask you guys a question, see if anybody else felt this way.
Okay.
I guess it's just more negativity from me after that last call.
Uh-oh.
But is it just me, or does it feel like over the last, I don't know, like half decade or something, Black Friday sales have just gotten crappier and crappier and crappier?
Black Friday itself just seems to have transformed in the past 5 years. And I think that's kind of leading into it a little bit, like what you're saying, where like the sales are getting crappier and crappier, because I think there's more of that expectation there that, you know, you have to have these huge doorbuster sales and so forth, and the stores have to be open on quote-unquote Gray Thursday, which the rest of us call Thanksgiving. Like, that wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I don't even remember Black Friday being a big deal when I was a kid. I remember you don't go to the mall that weekend because it's the biggest shopping weekend of the year, but it wasn't like...
They never really called it Black Friday. It was just like...
It was called that by
busy.
the employees because, oh my God, consumerism.
Or, you know, if you want to get technical, it's the day where the stores would finally be in the black for the year after running in the red for the whole year. That's really where the name comes from. But now it's Black Friday because somebody's going to get a black eye fighting for a toaster.
I mean, you know, maybe it's just that I'm getting older and, you know, I care less about stuff. I just don't get excited about things. But I remember, you know, when I was in high school and like CompUSA stores were still around. Oh, I wish those were still around. Mm-hmm. But they had sales, and I'd always be like, oh, there's like, you know, 2 or 3 things that I really, really want that's really cool. And now I'm old and cranky, and I see sales, and I go, I want just one thing, and that I don't even see one thing, like not even on Steam. And maybe that's part of the iterativeness that the last caller was talking about. It's just the same game with a different name on it every year.
Right.
I want like a Baldur's Gate again, where I'm like, I pay $50 and I feel like I really got my money's worth out of this.
Well, that's a whole nother problem that really has nothing to do with Black Friday, and that has more to do with DLC, but that would be a whole nother episode. You can probably see where I'm going with that. That'll be a whole nother episode of OLR. But I think with the Black Friday stuff is concerned, yeah, I mean, I had my eyes set on one thing as well, with the Warlords of Draenor expansion. I wanted to get that cheaper somewhere. Wasn't going to happen. Nobody put it on sale. So yeah, I was a little bit disappointed. But at the same time, you know, we live in a culture now where it seems like we've got sites that really make it their business to have things on sale all year long. And that would be like Walmart. That would be Amazon would be an excellent example of this as well. Like buying into the whole sale culture. I mean, Steam kind of does this too with games in a way. But you have to kind of ask yourself, does the quality necessarily match something that I'm getting on sale? An example of that would be televisions on Black Friday. You know, I'm sure Walmart was selling some TV for what, like probably like a full 100-inch TV for like $30, right? I don't know what kind of things they sell. They sell crazy shit on Black Friday. But the problem is the TV probably is missing something that you're probably used to seeing on a TV. Like it probably doesn't have component cables. It's probably like HDMI only. Or some of these HD TVs, I don't think they do this so much anymore, but a couple of years ago, you could get the cheap HD TVs, but they only did 720p. They didn't do 1080p.
Well, they had some like really cheapo laptops, tablets that they were selling for like sub $100.
Yeah.
You know,
I walked into Best Buy, and yeah, I remember seeing a tablet, and the tablet was unbranded. I didn't know that you could sell a tablet that didn't have a brand. It just had a Microsoft logo, and it was a 7-inch tablet. Yeah, I think really, at the end of the day, I'm just grumpy that I'm not seeing anything on Steam that I'm really excited to buy.
To be fair, though, we all know there's going to be another sale coming at the end of the year. So if everybody didn't blow their load on Thanksgiving so that they could get a few more sales before the big holiday, and then you're going to have that big after holiday sale. I can sort of see why we're in that position. I think Steam is uniquely positioned in a different way.
Well, if you can get Dragon Age Inquisition to go on sale for that one, then I'll be happy.
Sadly, with a game like that, since you bring that up, it's not going to go on sale on Steam any early. It'll be on sale on Origin before any of those other sites.
You're right. I don't think I've given Origin any money yet.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to hold out.
I know, but then I think an excellent example of this, Dave, would be Titanfall. I finally bought Titanfall on the PC because it went on sale for like half as much. Where? On Origin.
Yeah, it's like $10 right now or something.
Yeah, now it is, yeah.
It's because it's not as good of a game as they hyped it up to be, unfortunately.
My brother's upset because he paid full price for that.
I know. But that's what happens. I'm sure Mass Effect is dirt cheap on Origin right now, too. And if you,
which means you can go buy every single version in existence, too.
Yeah, that's right. You can probably get the whole damn trilogy for $20, I'm sure. So, all right. Well, Dave, my friend, thank you for your call, even if it was a little grumpy cat. But, I understand. Sometimes not all the news is sunshine and rainbows.
Yep. You guys have a nice night.
All right. You too, my friend. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And here's the thing that will inevitably happen to Dave, too, is whatever that game is that he wants, he has his eye on, let's say Dragon Age Inquisition, you know what's going to happen. He's going to buy it, and then what's going to happen the very next day? It'll go on sale.
So I have a last-minute story if you want.
Sure, real quick. Let's do one more story here. I am going to shut down the Skype line, though. Thanks to those of you guys who called and got through. To those of you that didn't get through, I'm sorry. Thank you for trying. Please send us an email with your thoughts. Participate at orangeloungeradio.com. You can always leave a comment on the episode as well, vognetwork.com. I know I don't always read those. I read them. I don't necessarily always read them on air, but I always appreciate those of you that leave a comment on the episode. Loki.
Valve has changed the rules for Steam gifts for trading stuff like that. So, for example, all new games purchased as a gift and placed in the purchaser's inventory will be untradeable for 30 days. We've made this change to make trading gifts a better experience for those receiving the gifts. We're hoping this lowers the number of people who trade for a game only to have the game revoked later due to issues with purchaser's payment method.
Oh. So there's people out there that buy the game, sell the code on eBay or whatever, put it in the other person's Steam account, and then flip the charges on the company or something. I see what the exploit is. Mm-hmm. I would have even thought of that. That's shady. That's very shady.
But that's also annoying, though, if you're buying somebody a gift.
Yeah. Well, no, you just don't put it in your own inventory first.
You just send it straight to them?
That's the difference. Yeah, you can send it straight to them.
Well, okay.
Yeah, but you can buy something as a gift and drop it in your own inventory first if you don't necessarily know who you're going to give it to, or you're going to save it for trade fodder. Like you could trade a $2 game for a bunch of trading cards or something. Like that's the whole idea behind it. But yeah, if I want to buy you a gift, Loki, if I want to buy you a game, like let's say I'm going to get you love Civ 5 so much, I'm going to get you Civ Beyond Earth for Christmas. I could just drop that right in your inventory. I'm not going to have a problem. I'm not going to have to sit on that for 30 days. That would be silly of Valve to do, because the whole reason they built that wish list thing in is so that they can tell you, like if I'm looking at a certain store page, hey, Loki has this game on his wish list. It's on sale. You haven't gotten him a gift yet. Buy. They want me to be able to drop that in your inventory.
That makes sense.
They just want to bypass where they buy it for me first. So, ActDeft confirming you can still gift it, just not trade it. So
they're saying that's supposed to deter resellers, so people that are selling games.
They probably need to do that. There's a lot of shady stuff that happens with the Steam reselling, so I see why they probably having to resort to that.
Makes sense.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for another episode of Orange Lounge Radio. Hey, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening to the show. Thank you for supporting independent broadcasting. And if you liked what you heard here at Orange Lounge Radio, please tell a friend or three about the show. Help spread the word. We are the show where every gamer has a voice, but you got to give us more of those voices so we can get the news out there. Don't forget, guys, next week's show, December 7th, noon is when it will actually be live. So this is the chance for those of you guys overseas or in a different time zone to participate with the show. Of course, if you're the other way on the globe, like I know Akuma JP is like, that's like 3 a.m. for me. I'm not going to be able to. Sorry. Maybe another week we'll do a show at 3 a.m. for those of you guys on that side of the globe. Maybe we'll see. All right. Anyhow, we're gonna wrap up. We'll go around and get everybody's final thought for the night. So, Loki, I'll start with you. Your final thought tonight.
So apparently there was this thing going on in Microsoft's store. If you purchase Kinect Sports Rivals for the Xbox One, you can purchase another game for free.
Oh.
So, for example, Kinect Sports Rivals was $24.99, and you could add Grand Theft Auto 5 for free on the Xbox One. It wasn't supposed to work that way.
Oops.
So now that's closed. But yeah, so that's silly. But yeah, so hopefully I'm gonna work more on my game this week. I started rewriting the engine again, and hopefully this will be the last time. And yeah, I'm gonna look at maybe shutting down the Minecraft server, even though it's only like $5 a month. It's just nobody's playing it.
That's $5 a month you could be spending on a Team Fortress 2 server or something else.
Yeah, it's and even I'm not playing it. And I have no desire to go back and play it because it's just like I don't know. I can't dedicate a lot of time to one game right now.
Jamie, do you have a suggestion for the money?
I could just give you $5 every month.
Well, I've kept it running for like years.
It's been a couple years.
It's been a couple years, and it's just
I just want my Normandy out of it.
It's just not. I mean, I'm gonna back up everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you copy the server, and then that way people can have their own local copies of it? Maybe.
Yeah, I can download the server and stuff. That's fine.
There you
go. That's what I'm of course going to do that. But like, I think it's more advantageous to like, if we were going to do something like that, to go to a public server or something where we could all go to the same one. So if we're not playing, there's actual people on the server to play with instead of just it being dead. You know what I mean? That was always the problem. It's like, okay, yeah, I'd play on it, but I'd be the only one on for an hour, and I may see somebody once in a while, but it's not like it's always packed with people.
All right. That was a long final thought.
Sorry.
That's all right. My final thought for the night is I've had a really good restful period of being able to sit on my big butt and play video games, and I'm sad that it's coming to an end, but I am thankful that I have a job to go to tomorrow and all that good stuff. So I just want to say thanks for tuning into the show on a holiday weekend, and hope your holidays went well. And hope your winter holidays will be going well. I know a lot of the celebrations begin for that in the coming week. So I hope whatever you're doing for the holidays is great. And thanks you guys so much for your support of the show. Dark Soccer, your final thought.
Don't be a dick.
That's right. Don't be a dick. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of Orange Lounge Radio. We will be back in 7 days at a different time to do it all over again and talk about whatever should come up in the news next week. PlayStation Experience, I imagine, is going to be coming up. The Game Awards and whatever is unveiled there. So even though it's a it's a fast retail period, a slow retail release period, there's still going to be a lot of stuff coming out in this past week. So we will see you in 7 days to do it all again. Thanks you guys so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful week. Bye.
You've been listening to Orange Lounge Radio. Orange Lounge Radio is a production of OLR Studios. To join us for a live show, tune into VogNetwork.com Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. The views and opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of the staff of Orange Lounge Radio or Vog Network, but you know they were all still true. See you next week.